that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back. I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
This is Dr. Andrew Elshouse of Revive Men's Health. If you're always feeling tired or moody, or your sleep is poor, you have low libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam. Call Revive Men's Health Seattle at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
From whiplash to herniated discs, there are a few car accident injuries we've all heard of. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains that even the most common injuries differ from one another.
Pre-existing conditions, health history, beginning of treatment. There are hundreds of factors that make every person and every injury unique. While these variables aid medical treatment, the strongest case recoveries must also take them into account.
Could you explain a little bit more?
Our team at Pendergast Law is obsessed with turning over every stone to differentiate each case. This requires thorough investigation, diligent listening, and relentless research. We never pursue cases with a one-size-fits-all approach. We built our success by treating every injury and every case with the individualized attention our clients need and deserve.
Pendergast Law's individualized approach to even the most common injuries makes the difference in case outcomes. It's another reason why I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
Play virtual golf on the best courses in the world and compete against your friends with Top Tracer. Mention KIRO in the golf shop and get 25% off 30-hour Top Tracer value cards valid through August. Enjoy Top Tracer at Jackson Park, Jefferson Park, and Inner Bay in Seattle.
So what are you reading?
I'm checking out the ratings on the new TVs, and it looks like Samsung, LG, and Sony got the best scores.
Just like last year. What about those new high dynamic range TVs?
They got the highest scores of all, but their prices are really high.
Did you check online?
Yeah, their prices were about the same.
Well, there's one place where we can get a hot deal on those top-rated models.
Where?
At Video Only. Check out the ratings on TV stores.
I see. Video Only scored better than the others.
So, if you want the best deal on the best TVs,
then we should take our TV ratings and head over to top-rated Video Only.
At Video Only, you won't find huge stores with refrigerators or microwaves, but you will find the best deals on top-rated TVs, soundbars, and monitors. Shop around. Just make sure you visit Video Only, because if you don't,
you'll be sorry.
In South Center, Bellevue, Linwood, Federal Way, and Tacoma, Video Only.
Safety comes first. When money is tight, Buc-ee's has you covered with no credit financing. For oil changes, wiper blades, brakes, tire rotation, tune-ups, and factory maintenance. It's Buc-ee's Complete Auto. No appointment needed and financing's available. Check Buc-ee's.com for the location near you.
Let's go!
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
For a second consecutive day, the Seahawks have made a trade. Seattle sent former second-round pick Darrell Taylor to Chicago in exchange for a 2025 sixth-round pick. Mariners president of baseball operations Jerry Dipoto told reporters yesterday that Dan Wilson, who was hired to replace the recently fired Scott Service, will be the permanent manager going forward, not the interim manager.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. We're inching in on 24 hours since the news from Ken Rosenthal broke that Scott Service would be fired as manager of the Mariners and replaced by Dan Wilson. Bump, I gotta say, I don't know that my opinion has changed at all over those 24 hours about it not being Service's fault. The only thing I've been willing to budge on is that when you are a manager, ultimately, someone has to be responsible. And if you're responsible for squeezing as much talent as you possibly can out of a roster, even if I don't think it's a World Series roster, and you don't, you're fired. So that's the only thing I've kind of like since shifted. How have you spent before we get into this Dipoto sound, the last 24 hours kind of thinking about this, ruminating on it? Do you feel differently? What do you think?
Yeah, my first reaction is kind of still my reaction now was that I don't think it's all Service's fault. He does play a role in this. His job is to try to get the most out of that roster.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you do that? It's managing emotions and sending make sure the philosophy and the messages is felt and these guys are connected with it. So obviously there was some disconnect there. If these guys aren't performing at a high level, we're going to get to some Jerry cuts here when he talks about the roster and the talent on that roster. I would disagree with some of what he said, but I'm looking at Service and saying someone had to go. When you had a 10-game lead and you are where you are now, the bats aren't hot, the bullpen is struggling, everyone is looking to place the blame on somebody, and action needed to be taken. And we all knew that if action were to be taken at this point of the year, it was going to be towards the manager. He played a role. No one is clean. No one's hands are clean in this whole situation. You're the coach. It is what it is. I will point out that Service has less power than a high school baseball coach at this point. High school baseball coaches have way more power than what Service has. He relies on the people upstairs and the data, and people are telling him what to do. He does make some decisions. But no, the move didn't surprise me. It's just not what I would have done. I would have stuck with him and said, "Look, these are your guys." Now this is desperation. This is Hail Mary. This is something has to happen. So what are we going to do? Let's get rid of Service and then bring someone else in, and maybe Dan Wilson can affect the performance on the field. We shall see. I hope that he does. If it does work out, then management looks like they're geniuses. But no, my status hasn't changed much. I understand the move. I know why they did it, but I still think that Service didn't deserve the bulk of the responsibility here.
All right, well, let's figure out what Dipoto thinks. He talked about needing a different voice.
And we need a different voice and a different direction, and I think that can be provided by Dan Wilson, who will be here to run the ball club tomorrow. And I'll be glad to talk about some of the things that I see in Dan, including a wonderful human being who has a natural way of communicating, who is well respected when he walks into a room, and who's been with us in this baseball operation team for the last 9 years that we've been here, and has relationships with many of the players and staff who will be with him tomorrow.
Before I move on to a bit of controversy from this press conference, that was probably the number one thing people were talking about after the fact. That idea of needing a new voice, sometimes I don't want to say roll my eyes, but it's like, what's that going to do? Is the new voice going to be able to hit 280? Like, is the new voice going to come in? And so, like, what does a new voice do? However, Bump, would you say that there is something to having just someone else in there? Like, what kind of spark, if anything, can just a new person or change provide?
See, all I can do is pull off of my experiences, right?
Right.
So there have been a couple experiences in my life where I was in that situation. One as the coach who was responsible for changing things, and then the other one as the player who saw the transition in coaching. Like, we had Mike Holmgren my first year, and the team wasn't very good, and we're looking to see, we knew who the next guy was going to be. It was going to be Jim Moore. How is he going to change this? And it wasn't at the end of the season or the last third of the season or whatnot. It was like at the beginning of the season, he walks in, and everyone perks up a little bit. All right, there's a new voice. There's new philosophy. Yeah. We have to try to impress this guy and the guys he brought in, because no one's job is safe unless you're getting paid X amount of dollars and you're good to go. So I think there's something that is going to happen with this team. It's new. It's fresh. It's a new voice. It's a different way of saying maybe some of the same things. It's like when you have kids. Man, I'll tell my kid one thing, his coach says it, and he falls in line with the coach more than me, just because it's not me telling him. It's someone else. I've been telling him this for 14 years now, and he's tired of me telling him it, and I understand that. So, yes, there is something that can happen with having a new voice in there and a new way of preaching some of the same things that Scott was probably preaching.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's something can happen here. I don't want people to think that I'm opposed to this guy coming in, and I think that there's no chance anything can happen. No, when you make change, there's more opportunity for things to go in a different direction. I'm interested to see how this works, because you still got the same players on this roster.
All right, two things that everyone is talking about after this press conference and after this news. The first was unexpected. It's how Scott and hitting coach Jarrett DeHart found out.
The worst part of it was the fact that Scott and JD found out about this over the crawl of a news channel, and that it crushes me. I know it hurts them a great deal, and I want to be conscious of that through the course of this process. But I've spoken with Dan over the course of the last 3 or 4 days. Once we decided that we were going to make this move, and he embraces the idea moving forward, and I think he's looking forward to whatever the future of the Mariners looks like. And I think he's always been a part of it. And I think he's going to be a part of it in a much bigger way moving forward.
I know that you can never control if leaks or rumors get out. And if they were talking, okay, I'll say this. If they were talking to Dan Wilson a couple days prior to officially firing Scott, you needed to tell Scott. I don't care if he's on the road. Mm-hmm. If more than a single person knows that you're going to fire Scott and that Dan Wilson will be hired, which was the case, several people knew this, you need to tell Scott.
Yeah, you owe him that. He's been in the trenches with you for 7-8 years now. Why wouldn't you give him the heads up? And also, you think Scott didn't know his job was on the line?
He knew.
Come on now.
He knew.
Scott, he's a ball player. He's been in the game a while. He's been around the game. He knows the situation they were in a couple months ago and the situation they are in now. He knew that if things didn't go right, his job was probably on the table at the time. So, yeah, I think he deserved that. And not to say that they were malicious with this, not to say that they were trying to be sneaky. I just think they handled it poorly. If that's really your dude and you care about him, you want to give him the heads up before it gets out.
And he deserved that, as you said. And again, unless you are the only person who knows this is going to happen, you need to cover your bases.
Yeah.
And they didn't. So, and there are some people being like, was Ken Rosenthal in the wrong? Ken did his job. Ken did exactly his job. His job is to get the story out, make sure it's the correct story, and ideally be first. That's your job as a reporter. It's not on him to cover for you. He's not PR. It's his job to report, and you did a bad job of making sure that wasn't leaked. So that's the first thing everyone was talking about. The second thing, and really the main part of this segment, Dan Wilson is not, in fact, interim.
He's the manager moving forward. We've known Dan for the almost his entire professional career. He has been a part of the Mariners family. We have known him here, like I said, this group for 9 years, and he embodies the traits that I think will go a long way toward paving the road, the next stage in our journey. I also believe that walking in the door as an interim anything, and I've been that in my life, walking in the door as an interim anything doesn't really allow you to lay the appropriate groundwork or get the trust and the build-in that's required to be a good leader in the major league space. So I trust those things of Dan. We can't know a person better than we know Dan Wilson, and I believe in both his baseball and who he is as a person. And I think that will resonate very well with our players.
I got to be honest, with the firing of Scott yesterday, that was what I focused on so much. I barely talked about or focused on the fact that Dan Wilson was hired, in part because we genuinely thought he was interim. We played Hype Train, and I said, oh, he'll stay here. I didn't actually believe that. I just did it to be different. I assumed it was an interim manager move. He has no managerial experience. It was kind of surprising that it wasn't as an interim manager Manny Acta or someone.
Yeah.
And outside of that, when an organization really struggles for a long time, sometimes it can benefit from outside eyes and outside voices. And I kind of wanted to see that happen. But no, he's staying here. He's permanent. Knowing that, Bump, how are you feeling about that decision?
I do want to say that not making him interim does do something for the players, the culture. It's like, all right, this guy's going to be here. I'm going to take what he says a bit more seriously than if we thought he was going to be here for the last 6 weeks and then he's going to move on. So I think Jerry going out and doing that, I think that's a good move. Now, what was your second question? Sorry.
Just how you feel about it in general, knowing that I think a popular sentiment fans have is this doesn't make sense, even though they love Dan Wilson.
Yeah. When you've had, and this is nothing against Dan. Dan, if you're listening, hello, welcome. But there's nothing against Dan. This is just the situation that we're talking about, right? You're dealing with an organization that had the biggest collapse in Major League Baseball this year, that has the greatest rotation in the game right now. And what you're doing is, or what it seems like you're doing, is you're hiring from within and you're saying, okay, we're going to have some of the same philosophies. It's like if the Hawks were to bring back Dan Quinn instead of going and getting McDonald. Everyone would think, all right, we're going to run cover 3. He's going to have the same messaging. What's going to be different about Dan Quinn? Reality is Dan Quinn would have brought something different, but the perception of the whole situation is you're just going to do this thing all over again. So the perception is Dan Wilson is going to do the same thing that Scott Service was doing. He's in the organization. They're talking to the same people. Philosophies are going to be the same. In reality, I guarantee you Dan's going to bring something different to the table. Another question I have is, if they were so quick to get Dan in this spot and say he is the guy, this has been brewing for a while now. Like, this was part of his succession, right? It was eventually he was probably going to be the guy regardless. So it feels like they had a plan in place, which I can respect. It doesn't seem like they're just shooting from the hip and saying, "Okay, Dan, go in there, save the day, and you're the guy for the foreseeable future." No, Dan's been in the organization for a while. The only question I have is what's going to be different. There will be some differences. There's no way he's going to come in and be Scott Service. But how different is it going to be, and is it going to be enough to help this team make a push towards the end of the season?
Well, at the end of the day, drastic changes are up to Jerry Dipoto, right? I saw a question about whether or not the offensive philosophy would change under Dan Wilson. That offensive philosophy was not just solely Scott Service. This isn't like a Pete Carroll situation. This is an organizational offensive philosophy. Everything this team believes in, I should say this organization believes in, starts from the top. And it is enforced by Scott Service and supported by Scott Service and encouraged, and his job is to kind of uphold it within the clubhouse. But this wasn't Scott's offensive philosophy that he brought here and then implemented and was like, Jerry, check this out. This is organizational. So when it comes to will the offense actually change, one, I think you need more talent. Two, whether or not the offensive philosophy or their approach or all that, that's a Jerry thing now. Like, that's on him because it was always an organizational thing. So Scott leaving doesn't solve your, offensive philosophy problems or your approach problems. That's going to have to be Jerry turning inward and saying, what do I need to change here?
But does Jerry control offensive philosophy?
Yes.
DeHart is out of here, right? Service is out of here. If Jerry's controlling the offensive philosophy, then you're exactly right. It has to come from within. If I'm Jerry, I'm looking for someone else to handle that now. I'm looking for someone else to handle it because I've done it, and it just hasn't worked out. So I hope I hope Dan has talked to these guys and has brought his own ideas and thoughts to the table. I hope he's allowed to be his true self in this situation. Because if he's not allowed to be his true self in this situation and bring ideas to the table and try to change whatever's left of the season, then why even make the move? That's my main thing. Why make the move if you're not going to have drastic change in these last 6 weeks? So, Dan, welcome. I hope you are that change, and I hope you're allowed to be that. But that starts with the people up top allowing him to do so.
Well, and I think it also starts with changes in the offseason about how they do things. In fact, I think the one thing that was sticking with me after this one, and I'll see if I can find the cut, but Jerry Dipoto saying that he didn't believe that it was a roster issue. Bump, I know you disagreed with that.
Yeah. Come on, man. That's the one soundbite that I heard to where now it sounds like it ain't me. It ain't me. It's everybody else. It ain't me. He had me at hello, Stacey. He had me when he said.
Had me in the first half. I'm not going to lie.
When he was like, hey, you know what? Everyone's responsible for this. I have to look at myself and every other coach and the players have to look at it. I'm like, there you go, Jerry. Let's go. It's funny. Had me at hello. His name's Jerry Maguire. How crazy is that?
Oh, look at that.
All right.
I've never seen that movie.
My
I'm sorry. I wanted to support you, but I also want to be honest and
gracious.
transparent.
You should have lied to me.
I'm sorry.
But
Great
then it's like, well, I don't think it's the roster. So now he's saying, look, I put together a hell of a roster. And at one point, we thought you did put together a hell of a roster. And maybe he did. And maybe Service wasn't connecting with the players. I always leave everything open for discussion because I don't know 100% what it is. I can give you my opinion. I can tell you what it looks like from the outside. But from him everybody needs to look from within, and it's all of us. It's the players. It's me. It's everybody. That roster is good, man. Dan, go ahead and do something with it. It takes me back a little bit and makes me more curious as to what he really thinks about the job he's done here so far.
Exactly. And if your answer is I truly, truly believe in my heart of hearts that I built a World Series offense, then you've got some problems. I don't know that he truly fundamentally believes that. Obviously, they have budget limitations and they have limits that a team like the Dodgers doesn't in terms of adding what they want to in free agency or via trade. I just hope that one of the changes we see moving forward is a change to how they build the team. And I don't know exactly what that looks like. That's for Justin and Jerry to figure out. It's way above my pay grade. But the process so far is not working. So what changes? Again, that's an awesome.
Hope he's right. Hope you're right, Jerry.
Yeah.
Dan, good luck.
Let's get to headline rewrites.
Extra, read all about it.
Headline rewrites.
We must make headlines.
The real story behind the headlines in today's news with Bump and Stacy.
Headline number 1, trade with the Seahawks. They're sending Darrell Taylor to the Bears in exchange for a 2025 6th rounder. What's the real headline?
A trade this time of year tells us Taylor wasn't making the 53-man.
No, he wasn't. You know, we talked about the competitiveness of this roster and what positions were really competitive. And we didn't mention edge rusher once. We talked about the group collectively and how good they were going to be. But when we talked about competition, it was the corners, it was the receivers, it was the offensive linemen. Not once did we think that the edge rushers would be broken up. So, that just means that either they wanted some cap space, they're getting ready for the cuts. He wasn't doing exactly what they wanted. But when I watched film, it seemed like DT was having a good preseason.
Kind of getting back very, very quickly to this thing. Kevin and Callie said if the roster played to their history, then it would not have been the roster. Jerry was right. I agree that I expected this roster to be a better offense. I did not expect them to be historically bad. So to Kevin's point here, he's absolutely right. However, I think one problem that we're looking at as an organization here is expecting that people are always going to play to their very best selves. Inherent to getting players that are a little cheaper or maybe a little older is that there's a little more volatility with their best. It's not 6-time All-Star. It's you were an All-Star once and then you were pretty solid and for some reason you're striking out a career high here. So I'm just saying there's a little bit of like a playing to the back of your baseball card thing that is not fair to apply to inconsistent players.
Part of constructing a roster is making sure that they're coached the right way and that the chemistry is on point. Right, you have to take that into account when you're putting that roster together. There was a roster with KD, Kyrie Irving, and guys, the beard, fear the beard. James Harden.
The Brooklyn. I had such high hopes,
and it just didn't work out, right? So you look upstairs and say, wrong combination. That has to be on you and the coaching.
Fair point by Kevin.
Headline rewrites.
Headline number 2, Edgar Martinez is reportedly expected to be named the Mariners' new hitting coach. What's the real headline?
Can we name him the Mariners' new DH, too? Would it be possible to have him pick up a bat?
I think he could hit 200 at his current age.
I kind of think so, and I would accept that. I would accept that it would not be the lowest average on this roster right now.
I mean, if there is a move that was made that I support 100%, is this one. I mean, it's Edgar Martinez, man, and this is part of the new voice, right? A new way of looking at bats, a new way of teaching. Again, maybe there's some things, but you say it in a way that connects with the players a bit more because once you put on that uniform, you know who the heck Edgar Martinez is, and if you don't, you better get to know. So I'm happy that he'll be in the dugout.
What did you make of some of the critique from fans? Now, I'll start by saying I don't actually think that Jerry or ownership is like, oh, let's usher out 1995 and kind of hide behind like a fan. I don't think that that's the plan here. Like, I don't think it's like a PR thing. I think that there's just a genuine trust in Dan Wilson, and Dan Wilson has a genuine trust in Edgar, who has been a hitting coach before. But what do you make of that sentiment of people saying, like, I don't get it. It feels like nostalgia.
I get why people say it because when I first got into this business, you know how many times I heard about that dang 95 team and people who have supported this team for a long time often mention it. But Dan has put in the work. Don't get it twisted. You look at his coaching history and what he's done for this organization. He has put in the work. I think he's qualified for the position. And then what do you do when you get a job? You call your boys who you trust and you say, look, come on, let's go do this together. When I got my first job, man, I called my guy Joey Hammer. Joey Hammer had never been a defensive coordinator in high school football at all, but I trusted him and I knew his work ethic and we were buddies. And I go, all right, let's go get this thing done. So yeah, that's what coaches do.
Headline rewrites.
Joey Hammer sounds kind of like a mob name. Hey, Joey Hammers.
Joey Hammers.
Hey.
He's got hammer hands.
Tony Sandwiches.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Hey.
Kevin and Callie's mad at me because he says I took his point out of context.
How's that?
I don't know.
I think you gave him
he
some
sent
love.
a longer. I did. I said great point, Kevin and Callie, and I read your text verbatim.
Poor
People
baby.
always want to yell.
It's
I think
okay.
we're all a little sensitive today. There's been a lot of change in this market. There's a lot of questions about a team that we were all hoping were making the playoffs.
You should be used to coaching changes by now. Darn near every team in town has had a coaching change.
You know
this
what
year.
I mean? There's a lot of new faces here.
Headline number 3, Mike McDonald talking to the media yesterday saying most of the starters will start tomorrow's preseason game, including Geno Smith. Here's what he had to say.
So the plan is you'll see a lot of starters to start the game. How many reps and all that, it's kind of on a per-person type basis, but the plan is to see a good amount of the guys. We got a couple nicks and bruises here. We'll hold some guys out, so there's some guys you might not see that you might expect, but for the most part, most of the starters will start the game, Geno included.
So what's the real headline?
It also means getting another look, really, at Ryan Grubb and Mike McDonald. When you've got your starters out there, you have a better picture of what the head coach and what your offensive coordinator want to do.
Yeah, for sure. That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm going to talk more about this offense and what to expect in four down territory. But that's it. This is the truest look you can get without it being for real when it comes to this Grubb offense and this Mike McDonald defense. Obviously, they're going to game plan for game 1 against the Broncos, but it's going to be nice to see the dogs out there getting after it.
You're listening to Bump and Stacy on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app. We do have some Seahawks stuff to get to and NFL stuff to get to. ESPN NFL analyst Benjamin Solak is joining us at 11. I will spoil it that we did tape with him. And I say that only because you are really going to like this interview, especially what he has to say about the 49ers. That's coming up at 11. We've got some Mike McDonald sound ahead of that. Before then, though, Jeff Passan was on with Brock and Salk this morning. Of course they asked him about Scott Service. We'll play you what he said next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
He is our guy, John Morosi.
This has much more to do with the way the players have performed than Scott's acumen as a baseball manager or even Dan Wilson's potential as a baseball manager. This has everything to do with the inability of this group of hitters to make consistent, meaningful, hard contact against pitches in the strike zone. Period. That's really it. And once you've basically decided that you've seen that movie way too many times and that you just have to turn the page.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Matt Coker here from West Coast Men's Health. Guys, if you're taking Viagra or any other pill for ED, I want you to ask yourself this question. Do I want to continue to do this for the rest of my life? If you're like most men, the answer is no. Here at West Coast Men's Health, we can restore blood flow naturally without pumping your body full of chemicals like you've been doing. Guys, you need to come in today and fix this problem now. Why are you putting this off? Viagra's not going to magically start working next week, and you don't want to use shots or go under the knife. Call us today and speak with our clinic manager. Ask him any question you like, how it works, the science behind it, and even the cost. Change your life today like the thousands of men who already have. If you're tired of dealing with ED or Peyronie's disease, then call West Coast Men's Health.
With clinics in Redmond and Tacoma, call 206-519-6541. That's 206-519-6541. 206-519-6541. Online at westcoastmenshealth.com.
Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest. The best place to watch all your favorite sports. Featuring wall-to-wall viewing screens, 6 windows, and 30 kiosks. Be there at emeraldqueen.com. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Leave Happy is a commitment to exceptional care of you and your vehicle with my friends at Volkswagen of Puyallup. I love the family-like atmosphere and the way they support the community, too. Go see them and tell them Brock sent you. Visit VolkswagenofPuyallup.com.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Home ownership. At Progressive, we know it's part of the American dream. It's majestic golden eagles and other less majestic birds taunting you through the baseball-sized hole in your new windows. It's soaring guitar solos performed through faulty wiring in your garage, which subsequently erupts into flames. It's also around-the-clock protection when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, which can help keep the American dream of home ownership alive and kicking. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out heart-stopping letters, aggressively garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it seem impossible to ever get out of debt. Don't let the tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, the #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in the Fresh Start Initiative, one of the biggest breaks that the IRS has ever offered. If you qualify, you could save thousands. Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, they'll fight to get you the best deal possible. Call Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
For down territory, going inside the game with Michael Bumpus.
I like this. More quarterbacks should start doing this.
Every day at 11:15 and 1:15 on Bumpin' Stacy.
You know, someone asked me the other day, do you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network? Well, it's way more than I thought. I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own, and it is more than a dozen, all to keep me connected to the good stuff. My streaming, my gaming, all my interneting, you name it. And Xfinity knows that the number of devices we have connected to our internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds, for real. And now through September 21st, you can get 150 megabit Xfinity internet for just $19.99 a month for 12 months with a 1-year contract. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it, and then some. Visit Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store to switch today. Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply, requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account. Equipment taxes and fees extra after promo, regular rates apply. Actual speeds vary. So make the call to 1-800-XFINITY.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Tired of slow play? Kickstart your day with an early round of golf. Get a round in before work with early morning light and faster pace of play. From Bellingham, Everett, and Marysville to Linwood, Bellevue, and Seattle, even out on the coast, there's a premier course near you. Play Interbay, Jackson Park, Jefferson Park, West Seattle, Bellevue, Legion Memorial, Walter E. Hall, Linwood, Cedar Crest, Lake Patton, Ocean Shores, or the Crossroads Par 3. The courses are in great shape and ready for your next round. Go to premiergolfcenters.com to book your tee time today.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio, you're listening to Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
MLB insider for ESPN Jeff Passan was on with Brock and Salk this morning, was asked about the Mariners' decision to move on from Scott Service. First, on why they would fire Service.
You know, Jerry Dipoto is probably not going to fire himself. John Stanton and Chris Larson clearly have not gotten to the point where they believe that Jerry Dipoto or people in the baseball operations department need to go. We're past the trade deadline, so it's not like you can go and upgrade your roster with anyone other than guys who are getting DFA'd from other organizations, probably aren't very good in the first place. So there needs to be a shakeup of some manner or variety, and they already got rid of Brant Brown, and clearly Jared DeHart went along with Scott Service here, so they're trying to do something. I guess that thing is a new voice.
I mean, again, we talked about it in the open bump. You did say sometimes a new voice can change things, but unfortunately they're not bringing in a new bat.
And, like, what would letting Jerry go do right now?
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. It wouldn't affect the dugout. It wouldn't affect the philosophy. It would just say, all right, you guys keep doing your thing while we work on stuff up here, you know? And so this was the only move that could be made. This was it. Brent Brown is gone, right? You tried that. That didn't work out. So what was next? Okay, who's your hitting coach? Okay, he's got to go. They're not hitting. Sure. Who's the voice? It's got to be Service. He's got to go. That was the only possible move that could have has the potential to have some correlation to performance on the field. That was it. So that's what they had to do. And something needed to be done. And that's all they could do. It's like, they're like, our hands are tied here. And then let me say that Jerry must have done a great job to the ownership group at conveying and making them believe in his thought process, his roster building, and what he has in store for the future. Because if they didn't, then you're having conversations about what Jerry can and can't do. And we'll see what happens during the offseason. Again, I never call for no one's job, but he has done a great job developing a relationship with those guys and making them believe in his process.
Does the Mariners move to fire Scott Service, to hire Dan Wilson, tell you they believe they're still in this?
Not necessarily. To me, it's just it's damage control. You know, it's walking. It's before my wife walks into the house. I know the house ain't clean, but I'm going to make sure the dishes are done at least.
Or that you're doing them. Like, you get up and you start, and then it's like, I've been doing these for hours.
Like, oh, man, it's been such a long day, man. Run around with the kids. But, babe, I'm doing the dishes, though. I'm doing the dishes.
Making lots of noise, dropping a fork here and there.
Exactly. That's what this feels like. But here's the thing. Me doing the dishes has the possibility of changing her attitude when she walks through that door.
Sure.
Them doing this has the possibility of changing what's happening on the field and the attitude of the ball players.
I'm going to play a cut and start leaning into a part of this conversation that some of you will be annoyed by. I'm just letting you know right now. I'm going to see text, oh, my God, Stacy, give it up. However, blame it on Jeff Passan.
There's a lot of room to make up. But I just look at the Royals right now. If you see their schedule over the next 3 weeks, it goes like Phillies, Yankees, Guardians, Twins, Guardians. It's like good team after good team after good team. And so the notion that the Royals or the Red Sox, who frankly are just sort of okay, or the Rays, who are the only other team ahead of the Mariners right now in that group, the notion that the Mariners can't go on a run when all of those other things are in play, I think is foolish. Of course they can. In this environment, they can still make the playoffs. They just need to get it going now, and this turnaround needs to happen now.
Tonight.
Oh, we're talking playoffs.
It has happened tonight.
Like today.
Yes.
But that's right. I am talking playoffs here because, guys, they are, 5 games back? And look, if Jeff Passan is saying it, I got to talk about it. And Bump, we have to talk about the possibility that does still exist that they do make the playoffs.
I mean, he mentioned the Royals. I'm looking at their schedule. You got Philly, Cleveland, Houston, Cleveland again. And then we talked about, the Astros schedule. I mean, it's no walk in the park over there. Who you got? You got Baltimore, Philly. You got KC. I mean, look, it ain't over. And that's why you throw this Hail Mary. You know, you roll out to the right side of the pocket and hold the ball as long as you can and toss that thing up and hope that DeAndre Hopkins comes down with this thing and you win some ball games. This is why you do this, because it shows the fan, even if the fan does not agree with it. Had a lot of fans tear me up on social media. Bum, this ain't football. You don't just ride it out. I go, well, that's your philosophy. My philosophy is, look, ride it out and see what happens. Or you toss one up like you are right now. So this is all they could do to change the perception of what's going on here. And if they don't end up winning these ball games and getting into the playoffs, the narrative at the end of the season is going to be, but it's a new era. We have new ideas, new philosophies. Then Jerry's going to go out and try to make some moves during the offseason. This is all posturing. It could set up and be the greatest move of all time, and Jerry looks like a dang hero.
Right.
If it doesn't work out, he's still good. Like, look, I tried something. All right, now let me go to work during this offseason to see if I can build up this roster again.
Can Dan Wilson turn it around?
I don't put it past this Mariners team to make another run. Like, we've seen how good they can be when they were 10 games ahead of everybody else in the division. And that team isn't missing. In fact, I think it's a better team, at least offensively now, than it was back then. So the notion that the Mariners are just dead in the water here it's not right. I still think they have a run in them, but is Dan Wilson the guy to get it out of them? Is Edgar Martinez, if he's joining the staff, as Adam Jude said he's going to be the guy to fix the hitters? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know that different in this case may not be a bad thing.
We've heard you guys talk a lot about other teams' schedules, says the 360. Who cares? The Mariners need to focus on themselves and stop worrying about what other people do.
Yeah, and I said we have talked about our schedules and we'll continue to, but reality is they need help.
Yeah.
Like, they're not – do you expect the Mariners to go off and win 10, 11 games in a row?
Yes. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, if you do, good for you, man. I would love to live in your reality. But
I want to live in that reality.
The reality of the situation is, yeah, they need to win some ball games.
Sure.
But they need the Astros to lose some.
Yes.
They need all the help they can get. So you have to look at it. If I'm the Mariners, like that mentality right there for sure. If you are the Mariners, you are wearing the uniform, you're playing every day, focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Let us look at the whole picture and be like, okay, you win some games here, they lose some games there, you are in the mix. So go ahead and put a jersey on 360. That's the mentality of the guys wearing the jerseys for sure. That ain't ours. Take care of home, but we're looking at the whole neighborhood and saying we need some help.
Well, in Real Talk, Cal admitted the other day that, yeah, we are looking at the visitor scoreboard. Like everyone's scoreboard watching around this time of the year when you know that Houston is 5 games ahead. I know that 5 games feels insurmountable when Houston overcame a 10-game deficit. That being said, 5 games is achievable if you turn things on. I don't think they're going to turn into a really good offense. I just do not believe they're a really good offense. However, we know they can be much better. And it's about when you get hot. Can you get hot at the right time? It is a very weird season. We will probably not have a 100-win team this year. We will probably not have as high a run differential as we've seen in previous seasons. There's a lot of parity this year. Does this sound like me just saying, hang in there, maybe they win? Yeah. But it's also me and Bump being honest about the reality that the season isn't over. You've got 30-plus games to play and you're 5 games back.
Yeah. It's until you're mathematically out of that thing, how else are you supposed to look at this situation? Especially if you're a player or a manager. You got to go out and do your best and try to win ball games and see what happens.
Can I be really, really 100% real and authentic and honest with you right now?
Please.
I want this team badly to make the playoffs. I also worry that this team, and I'll still root for them, making the playoffs means they don't make the fundamental changes I want them to make this offseason. I would love for them to add $40-50 million to their payroll.
Yeah, right.
I would love for them to maybe reevaluate, like, let's really take a close look. And this isn't me calling for jobs. This is me calling for reflection. So really take a close look at, like, what's everything we're doing. But it's like that test analogy that I made the other day. Like, there's like the one time I pulled an all-nighter and finished a bunch of work and like aced all those classes. If I pull it off, I don't actually change what I'm doing and change my behavior. And so that's a little bit of what I'm worried about.
You could.
Sure.
It's just less likely that you do.
In an ideal world, they make the playoffs. It's awesome. It's fun. We see a deep playoff run. And also they take a very deep look at everything they're doing as an organization to figure out how to be better.
I hope so. I mean, how can you make the playoffs and then look at your numbers offensively and be like,
and
all
feel
right,
good
we're
about
good.
that?
No, you would think that you do that.
All right, let's talk Seahawks here. The latest from Mike McDonald next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Who better to bring on than Jeff Passan, ESPN? Why do you think this happened yesterday?
It is ultimately going to be on the manager, right? Jerry Dipoto is probably not going to fire himself. We're past the trade deadline. There needs to be a shakeup of some manner, and clearly Jared DeHart went along with Scott Service here, so they're trying to do something. I guess that thing is the new voice. Different in this case may not be a bad thing.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Key here is employee satisfaction. There is no expectation for customer satisfaction if the people that work with us don't feel taken care of and supported and loved. I'm proud of the Lee Johnson Auto family. I'm proud of our stores. And I need everybody to share in that mindset, because it makes a better experience for the customer, but it also makes it a better place to work. Walking away from an interaction with a customer that says, I can't believe how easy this was. I can't thank you enough for helping me. Receiving a handwritten letter that's personalized to a salesperson or service advisor or a technician expressing gratitude, and then taking that home and sharing that with your family and hanging that on your refrigerator, that's the difference.
The LJ way is
The Lee Johnson Auto family.
Hey, Bob Stelton here, and have you heard that metal roofs are all the rage? A metal roof lasts longer, it's more eco-friendly, and is a great option for adding solar panels. Asset Roofing is leading the local push in metal roofing, and they can even offer metal roofs for up to 30% less than their competitors. You're either hiring a liability or you're hiring an asset. Head to AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work that's never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
At Shane Company, our engagement rings are the perfect blend of design, function, and beauty, each one a unique work of art. We meticulously craft our bridal jewelry in our jeweler's workshop to the highest standards, expertly setting each diamond by hand, ensuring the structure is perfectly balanced, and sizing everything for the perfect fit. Shane Company offers a free unmatched lifetime warranty because your engagement ring is an heirloom that was made to last. You'll cherish your ring today, tomorrow, and forever. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
My wife and I always loved doing everything together. Jiu-jitsu, kayaking, and intimacy was always on point. It was around my early 30s when I noticed a downward trend. Watching a lot of TV, putting on weight, and just full of self-doubt. I had tried another men's clinic with disappointing results. It's the personalized treatment I receive at Revive Men's Health that has been the complete game changer for me. I've got my energy and motivation back. I'm feeling stronger than I did in my 20s, and it made me a much better husband to my wife.
This is Dr. Andrew Elshouse of Revive Men's Health. If you're always feeling tired or moody, or your sleep is poor, you have low libido, you may be suffering from low testosterone.
Book your free T-check and exam. Call Revive Men's Health Seattle at 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
Having quality care matters. So, let's talk about it. Nobody likes not feeling their best, but it's comforting to know top local doctors are nearby when you need one. Optum Care Washington is here with exceptional primary and specialty care, from OBGYN and family medicine to urology and gastroenterology. We also accept most Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, with over 45 Puget Sound locations, Optum offers peace of mind close to school, work, and home. Discover all the ways Optum is here for you at yourhealthwa.com.
Heading outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nelly on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app.
Seattle is home to Swedish CyberKnife, a non-invasive and highly precise treatment for prostate cancer. Swedish CyberKnife is the only CyberKnife center in the Pacific Northwest. Compared with other radiation treatments, which can last 6 to 9 weeks, CyberKnife treatment is much shorter, typically 5 days or less. CyberKnife advanced robotic technology can track your slightest body movement, adjusting in real time to deliver radiation with extreme accuracy, sparing healthy tissue. The vast majority of patients experience minimal side effects and can continue normal activities during treatment. CyberKnife offers curative cancer treatment while minimizing side effects and disruption to a patient's life. The experienced CyberKnife team has helped advance the field with research, protocols, and published findings. Swedish CyberKnife treats patients from all over Washington state. If you, a friend, or family member is diagnosed with prostate cancer, go to swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY, and I want to talk to you about the importance of when you hire a lawyer. Some people delay, and that's a mistake. Here's why. When you go before the judge at your first appearance, bail is usually set.
Order in the court.
It may be the only chance you have to address that bail. You're going to want aggressive counsel, arguing for the lowest amount possible, or release with no bail at all. You want someone who knows you, a private lawyer who's going to fight. 1-800-DUI-AWAY. If your bail is set too high, you may be stuck in jail, or you may have to pay an expensive bail bondsman. When you're out, you need a trustworthy lawyer that can help put this whole ordeal behind you. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com to schedule your free consultation for any criminal offense. You wouldn't go into surgery without a doctor.
Scalpel.
So don't go without 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
1-800-DUI-AWAY!
from the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
The latest from Seahawks head coach Mike McDonald, who spoke to reporters yesterday, plus a few Seahawks injury updates. So let's go ahead and get to it with whether or not starters will play on Saturday.
So the plan is you'll see a lot of starters to start the game. How many reps and all that, it's kind of on a per-person type basis, but the plan is to see a good amount of the guys. We got a couple nicks and bruises here. We'll hold some guys out. So there's some guys you might not see that you might expect, but for the most part, most of the starters will start the game, Gino included.
Okay, I have a list via Bob Condotta that I'll read you in a second of guys we probably won't see, so we'll go over those injuries later. But in terms of the guys we will, Gino included, as he mentioned, what can seeing starters tell us? Like, is there any difference in seeing starters out there when you're looking at preseason games and what you can take away?
Does a bear
I know. It was a silly question, but I had to set you up.
Do pigeons fly away when you rush them? I don't know. Yeah, of course, yeah.
Who's rushing pigeons?
I don't know, man. I grew up in the city. We used to mess with them birds, man. There was a pigeon in my school that had one leg.
What?
We used to take care of him, though, because all the other pigeons used to mess with him.
I'm really glad you guys took care of him and protected him. He was one of the guys.
He was one of the guys. But, look, they're going to run the same plays, right? And it's going to look different. The linemen are going to get off the line faster. Mm-hmm. The receivers are going to look crisper. Is that a word? Crisper? Crispier? Crispier.
I like crisper rather than crispier. Sounds like
crispier is the right nomenclature.
You know, so
I don't like crispier. I don't like the starters look crispier.
Crispier. The football is going to get out of Gino's hands at a different velocity and different confidence. Like, there's going to be some type of tempo that you're going to see to this game that you don't get with a bunch of 2s and 3s out there. No knock on the 2s and 3s, but these guys are elite football players for a reason, those ones out there. I don't think you'll see a big change in play calling, though. I've watched this offense go. I've watched this defense go. For the most part, the offense has been vanilla minus the pre-snap movement and formations. We're seeing a lot there, but plays are plays. I've seen deep crosses. I've seen hitches. I've seen goes, counter zone. I don't think we're going to see anything real innovative, but it should look sharper once those guys are out there.
Alex and Monroe says rushing pigeons and one-legged pigeons are both outstanding band names. The 425 says, does the Pope have a balcony? Okay, it wasn't a great setup question. It wasn't my best.
Hey, don't. I can joke with her, okay? Y'all can't joke with her.
Well, I appreciate the does the Pope have a balcony? I don't have enough. Does a dolphin have fun when it swims? This is why I don't do this. This is why this.
That's a good one.
They seem to be having fun. All right, let's get to a few of those injuries. So we've got Jerome Baker. Here's what Mike McDonald had to say.
Yeah, he's trending in the right direction. We did an ACT today, so was able to get a couple more reps than he would have if we were going full speed.
All right, also quite a few of your tight ends, but notably Noah Fant and Pharaoh Brown.
I don't think the likelihoods changed or anything like that. I mean, I think they're on schedule. A lot of things can happen between now and then, so I don't want to give you one thing or another, but we're optimistic.
Okay, I got a couple names. With Pharaoh Brown and Noah Fant, they're optimistic that they can go in week 1. What does it mean, though, for this offense if they're kind of limited in their tight ends? Or do you have enough faith in, let's say, Brady Russell or, some other – I know that you really liked the tight end group.
Yeah, if Noah's not good to go, they'll be okay in short term, right? Pharaoh Brown is still banged up, too, though. He has something going on with his foot, so we shall see. You got Mabry and Russell. I think if Pharaoh Brown is not there, then I have less confidence in the group. I think Mabry and Russell can play. There are no chumps out there.
Right.
But, the drop from Noah to Pharaoh Brown, you lose something. You lose that run after the catch, even though we spoke to Noah Brown, and he does have like a 60-yard touchdown with the New England Patriots last year or the year before that. But those two are your guys, man. I was excited about this group because of those two. But why aren't we talking about this rookie, man, A.J. Barner as well? Like if he's your starter, I feel a lot better about the situation than having Mabry and Russell as your starter. But it limits you because I've seen 2 and 3 tight ends out there at the same time, and some of the routes that you're asking these guys to run, I feel fit the top 3 better. Russell can run some routes, and he's got some hands, but he seems like he's a bit undersized and kind of limits what you really can do, even though it says he's 6'3", 250. Maybe that number 38 just makes him look small out there because I didn't think he was that big.
I know that you and Curtis both have opinions about jersey numbers making guys look bigger or smaller, and or that guys shouldn't wear certain jersey numbers.
It's not opinions, it's facts.
Okay. Another injury that I don't have, there's no sound on it. I don't know that he gave an update. I'm a little concerned about Rayshon Jenkins, a free agent safety brought in here to be a starter. He has no timetable. Bump behind him is Kayvon Wallace. How do you feel about the safety group? Let's say Rayshon isn't a week 1 guy.
I feel good. As long as J Love is out there, we're feeling good about that. I mean, so far during this preseason, Wallace has had the hit of the preseason against the Chargers, was it, or was it last week? Against the Chargers, hit a guy in the hip. That's when Kobe Bryant got the interception. It was week 1. No, he's been good back there. I think he's fine. But yeah, it's a step down when Jenkins isn't out there. But I think you can cover some things with J Love, man. You keep him deep. You put Wallace in the box when need be. I think he'll be fine there. But, I mean, you can ask me about any position.
Yeah.
If it ain't the starter, there's going to be a drop-off in play.
Fair. Well, let's talk about what's required to make a big leap. Mike McDonald asked about what he needs to see from the defense, what the defense needs to do to make that big improvement.
Guys buying in on playing the way that it requires to play good defense. So, we're on that trend. You know, the guys are into it, and it's our job as coaches to remind them of the standard that we're doing every day, and it's a process. You know, you're trying to build it, and you can't do it in one day, but buy-in.
Can I say something? I felt like that was a genuine answer, and I kind of appreciated it. What's it take to make that huge jump? Guys buying in on what it takes to play good defense?
Mm-hmm.
That was pretty blunt.
Yeah, because there's when as a football player, when you believe 100% in your coaching and your philosophy, man, your play is just different.
Yeah.
You're flying around. You're not thinking as much. You're not second guessing. This is what coach wants me to do. I'm going to get to that football. When you're second guessing out there, you're not playing ball. You're playing hesitant. You're not your true self. You don't allow your body to take over. It's such a beautiful thing when your body just takes over and you are in the game. You're not worried.
Mm-hmm.
There's no hesitation. There's no fear. It's just you're having fun and you're flying around to the ball. So I think coach is 100% correct.
All right, sticking with the NFL, we're going to take a look mostly at Seattle, a few questions about the 49ers, and one quick question about the NFL with ESPN NFL analyst Benjamin Solak. He joins us next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
It's become official. The Mariners have released the statement that Scott Service and Jarrett DeHart have been relieved of their duties.
As you like to say, divvy up the blame pie. Service, I think, had the smallest slice.
Something had to change. That was obvious. You can't run it back. The fan base just wouldn't accept it.
I just never thought, talking to guys like Cal and Logan, there's never been any kind of a hint whatsoever that was the problem. So, yeah, it's very shocking to me.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Fall Classic collector car, truck, and boat auction. Saturday, August 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Gates open at 9 a.m., auction starts at 10 a.m. Up to 200 collector, vintage, and classic vehicles. Many going to the highest lucky bidder with absolutely no reserve. Get lucky, get local, and get in line. Visit LuckyOldCar.com. That's LuckyOldCar.com or call 206-467-6531 for bidding and consignment details.
Free consultations, no fee guarantees, 5-star reviews. J.P. Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains the importance of going beyond these familiar offerings.
Accident victims want an attorney, Tom, that satisfies their needs. Someone who handles those needs with the highest degree of care. Pendergast Law offers the no-fee guarantees and free consultations, but these only scratch the surface.
Okay, explain more.
We make sure that every member of our team is genuinely passionate about helping others. Customer service and communication are our top priority. It's how we take care of our clients so they always feel one step ahead of the insurance companies. Our strong reputation for high standards provides comfort and confidence when it's needed most.
Pendergast Law offers the free consultations, the no-fee guarantees, and of course, they are 5-star rated. But what really makes them different is their genuine passion for helping others. I can't recommend them enough.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
That's PendergastLaw.com.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Can't fix everything for everybody.
But you can be there and listen and try to help with what you can. You're there to support them, and that's the best that you can do.
Justin Meek. He's the leader and caretaker of the 380 people who consider Lee Johnson their home.
This is my life. This is my family's life. The people that work here, they're my family. When something's not right with them, it's not right with us. My wife and 3 kids in the house, there's always something wrong with somebody at all times. And if there isn't, then something's wrong. When you have 388 employees, there's never a day that everything is good everywhere. You have to be okay with that. You have to look at that as opportunities to gain a better relationship with people and help them through what they're going through.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
Have you considered surgery or even joint replacement? Hey, it's Dave Wyman, and before you make that decision, see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Why? Because he gives it to you straight. Dr. Wagner said my right knee needs replacement, and I appreciate his honesty and expertise. My left knee is fine right now, but the minute it isn't, I'm heading to Dr. Wagner for his expert opinion. I want to avoid another surgery, and I've heard so many patients rave about results from their 90-minute outpatient stem cell procedure with Dr. Wagner. He's a board-certified Seattle physician with over 30 years of experience and has performed more than 20,000 stem cell procedures using a person's own stem cells to regenerate cartilage in their own joints. People with severe osteoarthritis, even bone on bone, are back doing what they enjoy without pain and without surgery. Whether it's a shoulder, hip, elbow, ankle, wrist, or knee, before choosing surgery, see Dr. Mark Wagner first. Go to drmarkwagnermd.com.
Seems like there's more identity theft in the news every day.
Another major healthcare breach was reported today, resulting in the exposure.
Now, 1 in 4 consumers have been a victim of identity.
That's because there are endless places that could accidentally expose you to identity theft, in a breach, or simply by mistake. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at lifelock.com. Terms apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, the original timeshare cancellation expert. And I'm here to tell you that there is a way out. All you need to do is give my office a call. I will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free, explaining how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free info kit. Call 800-857-5656. 800-857-5656.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
For a second consecutive day, the Seahawks have made a trade. Seattle sent former second-round pick Darrell Taylor to Chicago in exchange for a 2025 sixth-round pick. Mariners president of baseball operations Jerry Dipoto told reporters yesterday that Dan Wilson, who was hired to replace the recently fired Scott Service, will be the permanent manager going forward, not the interim manager.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Joining us right now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline, Benjamin Solak here from ESPN to talk about the Seahawks and take a quick look around the NFL. Ben, I'm actually going to start with general expectations, like just a broad overview. What kind of season are you expecting for Seattle this year?
I think they'll be in the wild card hunt the entire way. I'd like to see them get it. I think that they are probably one of the 7 best teams in the NFC, even with the coaching staff changes, even with some of the personnel changes. But you never know, right? When it's a first-year staff, especially a first-year OC, Ryan Grubb, is coming up from the collegiate ranks. You don't exactly know how that offense is going to port over. There's obviously big offensive line questions as there were last season. So there is uncertainty, but I know Geno's good. I know they got some good pieces on that defense, and I know Mike McDonald's good. And that's a lot more good that I know about that team than I know about a lot of other teams in the conference. So I think wild card race. I think 500, a little bit over 500, and hopefully they get to play some January football.
Hey, Ben, I look at the defense, and I'm excited. Obviously, Mike McDonald did great things with Baltimore, but there's no substitute for personnel. And in Baltimore, he had that personnel. When you look at the guys on this defensive line in the secondary, what do you see? Because the linebacker spot is my biggest question mark, but I feel like if the D-line can cover them up, they should be okay.
Yeah, linebacker's a big question. And I think that the departure, obviously, like, you lose Bobby a couple years ago, you lose Jordan Brooks this year in free agency. You're now at a point where, right, that's just a really weak spot. Now, what I can say is that a lot of defenses in the league get away with having shaky linebacker play. Linebacker play in the league is just, in general, not great. We saw McDonald in Baltimore with Roquan Smith in hand, with Patrick Queen already in hand, and then acquiring Roquan Smith, really get a nice 1-2 punch together. And I don't think you're going to see Roquan Smith caliber player in Seattle this next year. So I don't think you're going to see McDonald do similar things on defense that he did in Baltimore, right? When you run a lot of those like split field zone coverages, talking about 2 deep safeties, you need that middle linebacker to be really, really good in coverage. So you got to be able to run down the middle of the field, run down the seam. And if you don't have that, you're just not going to run as many of those plays, right? They pay Julian Love. They're going to put Julian Love in the deep middle, and they're going to play single high safety stuff because you just don't have the horses at linebacker to run what you used to run. The thing about McDonald is that he is a adaptive defensive coordinator. He's not a Dan Quinn or a Jim Schwartz or a Brian Flores who shows up and says, listen, I run my stuff. You guys got to run my stuff. He's a guy who says, okay, what can we do here? What can we do with the pieces we got? So I think with that defensive line, like you brought up, I think they have such incredible size, and Leonard Williams with Draymond Jones, with Byron Murphy. Like, I think they've got a good front there to be really good against the run and protect those linebackers. And then hopefully with Reek Woolen bouncing back a little bit and Devon Witherspoon gets some of the nice cover men, I think you'll see those guys get featured, and they'll do a lot schematically to hide that linebacker position.
Do you think that ability, or rather that willingness to adapt, is more rare among defensive coordinators, or is it a generational thing? What do you think?
It's a good question. So I'll say this for sure. It's more common among defensive coordinators than offensive coordinators because offensive coordinators get to have the cards before the snap, right? They get to decide what they want to do. So a lot of those guys are, listen, I run my stuff. Defensive coordinators inherently have to be more adaptive. Like I said, Dan Quinn's kind of a line him up and play guy, but he still has some adaptiveness to him. He absolutely does. He's changed what he did in Dallas as opposed to what he was doing in Seattle. And so in general, more defensive coordinators have it than don't, and they have it more often than offensive coaches. But certainly among defensive coaches, you are seeing the younger generation, I think, be more willing to try different things, be more willing to borrow from the college ranks, more willing to do surprising stuff with rushes and with blitz packages, right? Like 10 years ago, it was anathema in the league. It was illegal to rush fewer than 4 guys. You couldn't do it. Like, nobody was just rushing 3 because you couldn't get after the passer. If you can't get after the passer, what are we doing on defense, right? You never saw that. Now, you have plenty of guys who are willing to rush 3 and drop 8, right? It's now become a more common tool in the toolbox because elite quarterbacks are moving around back there and they're finding throws late in the down. You just need that 8th body in zone coverage. And so you're seeing, I think, the younger generation tends to be more on the cusp, more willing to try some stuff, and certainly McDonald is one of those guys.
Gino is he's been great with the play action, man, and I look at that and I hope Grubb kind of highlights that when he does start the regular season. I'm excited to see what they look like on Saturday. We're going to see some starters there for a little bit. When you look at Grubb's offense, how do you think Gino kind of assimilates to that thing? Or do you think we'll see some play action? Will Grubb do the same things you're talking about with Mike McDonald as like, all right, this is what our guys can do. Let's switch things up. Or do you feel like Grubb is kind of, all right, man, I love the mesh concept in the counter. Let's just keep running that until the wheels fall off?
We're going to see some play action for sure, in part because Gino's so good at it, in part because it's just really good in the league overall, and in part because Ryan Grubb did use play action at the college ranks. Now, he is the college version of play action, right? He was in the gun a lot, and they would do some hard play action, and then they would do a lot of RPO from the gun. And you see in the NFL, right, fewer teams live off the RPO, fewer teams live off the gun. A lot of those concepts just have to be slightly adapted to put them into more under center play action. And I think that I'm pretty confident that's what you're going to see happen there in Seattle. With Grubb's offense, what we have to remember is that Grubb's background is as an offensive line coach, and the way that he really thinks about offense is running game first. He thinks about it in terms of a very diverse menu. They ran a lot of different run concepts there in Washington during his time. And so you're going to see a high variety of run concepts, both from under center and from the pistol, from the gun. And then off of that, it's going to be okay. What play action passes make sense, right? What motion passes make sense? Kind of what naturally falls from this. And so I wouldn't be surprised if you see more run heaviness than I think people expect early on from this offense. A little bit more Kenneth Walker, a little bit more willingness to just gain 4 dirty yards every single play. And then after that starts to get established and that starts to get comfortable, that's when Geno really starts to unlock in the deep play action pass game. That's my expectation for this offense.
Ben, we already know a quarterback gets all the praise when things go right and then a lot of the blame when things go wrong, and that's even when he's not really responsible for it. And it's also just really hard in general to extract a performance of one guy from the other 10 on the field. That being said, how should we be measuring Geno's success this year? Am I looking at like very basic stats? Am I looking for good decisions under pressure? Like, how will you be evaluating Geno?
The film, right? That's where it's always at. Like, I would love, trust me, I'd be the first guy on if there was one stat that told us which quarterbacks were good and which ones weren't, right? Oh, it'd be so handy.
That's it. Just definitively.
It would also ruin my job, is the unfortunate news, right? So hopefully they don't come up with one anytime soon. But in general, like the book on Geno last year is a really good example of this conversation. You look at numbers, people are frustrated with Geno. Oh, is there a quarterback controversy? Oh, Sam Howell going to come in and win the job? Yada, yada, so on and so forth. You go and you watch the film and you see a guy doing his best under an obscene amount of pressure, right? And not necessarily getting too much structural help from some of the offensive designs and so on and so forth, right? Like the film last year on Geno, 2023, was not that dissimilar from the 2022 Geno film in terms of his individual quality of play. It was just a lot of what was around him was worse. And for whatever reason, we act in the NFL content space like we can't handle that reality, right? We're always jumping for like, oh, this guy's actually good, this guy's actually bad, that we always pretend like we can't adjust for context when we can, right? We definitely can. We want to jump to quarterback debates and quarterback controversies and camp battles when the reality is Geno's pretty good. And he was pretty good at 22 when there was some good circumstances around him, and he was pretty good in 23 when the circumstances around him were bad, and he was doing the best he could with what he got. So a little bit better offensive line play this year, a little bit clever stuff in terms of offensive design, and hey, I think Geno's going to look just like we expect Geno to look.
You can't talk quarterbacks and not mention receivers, man. The importance of that position has grown tremendously over the last decade. We saw Philadelphia just pick up Dotson. I like that trio over there. You got Houston with a nice trio with Tank Dell, Diggs, and Nico Collins. Miami has their trio. What are your thoughts on the trio here over in Seattle with DK, Jason, and Lockett?
Yeah, so I'll start kind of from the wide receiver 3 and move up. I'm really interested to see what Tyler Lockett's role looks like in this offense, because I think that Grubb was really good at getting your Jalen McMillan type receiver activated in this offense at Washington. I think that's kind of the role that Lockett fits into. Some of those intermediate breaking routes and some of the crossing patterns and the sort of stuff that keeps Lockett away from contact. Because we kind of know the book on Lockett. He's always been a smaller player. He's never been great into contact. He still has the juice. He still has good routes. He still has good hands. He maybe isn't, turning as many 15-yard gains into 30-yard gains as he used to, but this is still a very valuable receiver. So I do think that we're going to see a little bit. It's wrong to call it a resurgence because Lockett was perfectly productive last year, but I do think we're going to be reminded just how good Lockett is in this kind of later stage of his career. Jackson Smith-Njigba now is the guy that I think has to get unlocked. Smith-Njigba is the guy where you look last year at the usage and you say, okay, wide receiver screens are cool. Speed outs are nice. We spent a first-round pick on the guy. We got to run him down the field, right? And Smith-Njigba at Ohio State was, again, he was fine with the ball in his hands. He was fine yards after the catch. But this was really a good route runner. This was a guy who could play in isolation. He would beat a corner. So I'm expecting more verticality from him, more downfield usage. And then that brings you to DK Metcalf. All right, well, Tyler Lockett's going down the field. Jackson Smith-Njigba's going down the field. Is DK still going down the field? Yeah, probably, right? This is going to be a very vertical offense. This is going to be a team that wants to take its shots outside of the numbers, wants to take deep posts, wants to take deep crossers. Going to be looking to push down the field with all three of their receivers. Metcalf, obviously, he's a good receiver. They paid him accordingly. So, are there 3 or 4 Metcalf games every year that are extremely frustrating? Yep. You kind of just got to take those and take the lumps as you get them and enjoy the other 12, 13.
Hey, Ben, I think some people could look at the NFC West and go, well, of course it's San Francisco's division to win. And quite honestly, it probably is. They're just completely unstoppable at times. But there's also a lot of talent. I mean, you've got some of the better quarterback groups. You've got some of the best head coaches and coordinators in this division. And obviously the Rams could be really special if they're healthy. So if you're Seattle, what are you hoping happens for these other teams to where they don't pull too far ahead?
Yeah, I'm very happy to be fading San Francisco a little bit this year. That defense was bad down the stretch. BAD bad. Not, bad for the playoffs. Not, because they're sending the other thing. No, not good. Really bad against the run. Against the pass, they have talent, but they're predictable, and they're relying on their pass rush. And every year they get a year older. Every year the pocketbook gets a little bit tighter as they have to pay more and more guys. We got a first-year DC, though, and Nick Sorensen now is a guy that they like, but we don't know much about him. Brandon Staley's on that staff to help with the defensive side of the ball. I don't think they're going to be too good on defense, to be honest. I think they'll be fine because they got Nick Bosa, and that kind of, gives you a certain floor. But other than that, they don't scare me too much on that side of the ball. And then offensively, As we know, we got Brandon Ayuk contract question marks, got Trent Williams question marks. Everybody's getting a year older. I'm happy to be fading San Francisco a little bit this year. I think they're probably still the best team in the division. Don't think they're the clear favorite they've been in years past.
Love that.
Then with the Rams, listen, I think the offense is going to be incredible. Defensively, Aaron Donald left. And, we're kind of all just going, they'll be fine. I don't know, man. Aaron Donald and Raheem Morris left, right? So, again, we have a first-time defensive coordinator there in Chris Shula, who came up in their coaching ranks, dealing with a defense in Los Angeles that for the first time in a decade doesn't have Aaron Donald. And they've done what they can to prepare for his departure, Kobe Turner and the drafting of Braden Fisk and Jaden Verse. But, everybody, rookies are not sure things. Young players are not sure things. Development is not linear. You can't just replace Aaron Donald in the aggregate. This is not Moneyball. And so I think defensively, just like the 49ers, I think the Rams are in line for a pretty substantial step back. I don't think it's going to be good on that side of the ball. So, on any given Sunday, Rams might put 40 on you. Niners might put 40 on you and you lose, right? Those offenses are what they are. You have to be able to beat those guys in shootouts. But I think both teams are susceptible. With neither one of those teams am I just locking, setting, and forgetting it. They're going to be as good as they've been in seasons past.
All right, $1 million question for you. Is Brandon Ayuk going to be a part of that offense? And if he's not, do you like the combination of Pearsall and Cowing, the two receivers that the Niners picked up in the draft?
So I think every day we get closer to the season where Brandon Ayuk has not yet been traded, it is more and more likely he stays in the 49ers. Probably playing on his contract. I'd be very surprised if he decided to play not on the extension, but I think every day we get closer to the season, it's a little bit harder for that deal to get done, a little bit more likely that the Niners buy themselves time on the extension and get that ball across the line. So I do expect Ayuk to be a Niner, but man, if Adam Schefter doesn't know, I don't know. Don't ask me. It's like a 55-45 sort of a thing, right? This is very, very, very tight. In the event that he leaves, we bring up Pearsall, their first round pick. I like Pearsall coming out. He's been dealing with injuries all camp. I don't think you can expect too much from him early. I was a Cowing fan. Cowing's a little bit of a smaller player, though. I'm not sure you want him working the middle of the field just yet as much as an Ayuk was. The player I really like on their wide receiver room is Ronnie Bell. He was a wide receiver out of Michigan, drafted a couple of years ago. You saw him get some time on the field when they were dealing with injuries in each of the last two seasons. He's the player to me that if Pearsall's still banged up and they're walking out in three receiver sets, Debo, Juwan Jennings, and question mark, I would expect Ronnie Bell to get those reps up until when Pearsall gets healthy, and then I think he'll get them because of the draft pedigree.
Hey, last question for me, Ben. I'm stepping outside of Seattle, but sticking with some Washington connections. Here we kind of keep our eye on Gardner Minshew and, of course, Russell Wilson, both in really interesting situations. At least one been named the starter so far, the other in a battle. Who starts more games, Russell Wilson or Gardner Minshew?
Goodness gracious.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thanks. I think Gardner. Gardner obviously already has that job in hand as opposed to, like you say, Russ, who's still in the battle. I am confident that neither player will start 17 games because I don't think either player will play well enough at quarterback and their team will win enough games for them to hold on to that job. And then it becomes a question of, okay, what do Aiden O'Connell in Las Vegas and Justin Fields in Pittsburgh do? And I think Fields has a better chance, be more explosive, feel more like the future there to actually hold that job off if and when he gets it from Russ. So I'll say Gardner, but I don't appreciate this question. It's a horrible question. It's a tough one to end on.
I had to pin you down with this one. It's just I don't know how to answer it, and I didn't want to be suffering alone. He is Benjamin Solak, NFL analyst for ESPN. Ben, you've given us so much stuff to break down and talk about. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, Ben.
No, appreciate it, fellas. Y'all take care.
Let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 Down territory, going inside the game. With former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down bump. Some analysts have made a big deal about Aaron Rodgers not playing in the preseason. You made it clear it doesn't bother you, but there are only a select few quarterbacks who don't need the preseason. Who are they?
Yeah, some guys don't need it. Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys. I'm watching ESPN, and some guys are making a big deal. Was Tim. What's his name? Tim Tannenbaum? Is that his name?
Mike Tannenbaum.
Mike Tannenbaum. Yeah, and he's like, no, you got to see Aaron Rodgers take a hit. I go, for what? My man played 4 snaps last year, got hit, didn't get hit, just went to a drop back and popped his Achilles. I'm good on that.
Yeah.
But there are only a few guys who don't need the preseason, and these guys are pros. Patrick Mahomes, 96 games, future Hall of Famer. Lamar Jackson, 86 games, 2 MVPs. Josh Allen's 94 games accounted for the most touchdowns in the NFL last year. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, 231 games, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion. Matthew Stafford, 206 games, Super Bowl champ. Dak Prescott, 114 games, had the most explosive offense in the game last year. This is and then hold on. Jared Goff, 117 games.
Yeah, you put some respect on Jared's
He just knows
name.
how to win.
Let's include him in that list.
These two are the two where I go, do they actually need the preseason? They just might, but they might not. One is Jalen Hurts, 62 games, but maybe he should play because last year was not very good for my man, and he has a lot to prove. He was an MVP candidate. He did not finesse the league, but he got about $250 million. But I'm looking at his game last year, and I go, I don't know, he might need it. And then Brock Purdy. I mean, he's only played in 25 games, but he's the best point guard in the game right now. He's the best point guard. He distributes the ball properly. He's good to go. If you ain't those names, lace them up, son, because you got to play some ball. If you are on this list, let me know if I missed somebody out there. Text lines, I'll probably disagree with you, but let me know anyway. Those are my guys. Those guys don't need the preseason. We're talking about preseason. These guys have played in over 1,000 games collectively. They are good to go. They are proven in this league. Everyone else, strap them up. Get ready to go.
425, what about Joe Burrow?
Yes, Joe Burrow. He does not need preseason.
Yeah. But I can understand the argument for younger players in general, particularly coming off of injury, to be able to get out there. I mean, it's the same reason the Browns want Deshaun Watson out there. He's not proven nearly as much as Joe Burrow, but it's because he's missed so much time.
Yeah, lots of time.
Someone said, how about Matt Ryan? Maybe Kirk Cousins.
Matt Ryan, is he still playing? He retired.
No.
Kirk Cousins? Nah, Kirk's good. Everybody else?
Maybe they meant Kirk Cousins. Second down. Sounds like starters may get some playing time on Saturday. What are you looking forward to seeing?
Now, it's hard to really, come on, this is preseason. They're going to be vanilla, but there's some things that you're going to be able to see. Someone says, what about Tua? Tua needs to play. Tua go out there and play, okay? I want to see Grubb, his tendencies, right? Last year, now this is a different offense. Last year, the Hawks had 11 pass plays per game on first down. So I just looked at first down and say, what are his preseason tendencies? Because I'm sure they're going to change during the regular season. But against the Rams, he had 12 pass plays on first downs, 19 run plays. Against Tennessee, he had 8 pass plays on first downs, 9 run plays. Overall, this season, 20 pass plays, 28 runs on first down. Is this going to be who he is? I know a lot of coordinators love to establish the run on first down, get 3 or 4 yards. It sets up everything else. I just want to see. So now I'm just a simple stat. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to look at the first down, what formations he gets in, what the play call is going to look like. I also want to see the condensed formations and how he's going to use that. I think a lot of people are going to those condensed formations, at least to start the emotion guys out. I just want to see what the first down playbook looks like. So Ryan Grubb, show me a little something. I know you're not going to show me much, but give me something. Let me see that first down.
Third down. What new NFL Hall of Fame rule could make for GOAT activity?
GOAT activity's on the way. This man already has some GOATness in him.
Okay.
He might be the greatest coach of all time. We're talking about
greatest Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick.
Okay.
All right, so there's some more GOATness that can happen with this dude, Stacy. So the NFL just made a rule, Hall of Fame made a rule that you only have to be out the game 1 year and you're eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
So for coaches. If he's out 1 year and then gets inducted into the Hall of Fame and then goes and coaches, goodness gracious, man, I'd walk around with that jacket on the sideline like, look, listen to me. I'm the only one to do this, guys. Pay attention to what I'm doing because this is ridiculous. I mean, what else is there for Belichick to do? I think he wants to get back in the game. I think he's more than capable of coaching and doing it at a high level. But if he were to get inducted into the Hall of Fame and then come back and coach, that'd be some crazy stuff, man. And if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm doing it just for my ego. I'm doing it. Like, I'm gonna wait a year because y'all better get me in. I'm first ballot. Get me in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and coach whoever needs a team out there. And then I'm gonna pass up Don Shula for most wins of all time. I mean, then he's done everything. So I'm looking at that situation, and that would be a hoos. That would be fun to see.
I love the idea of Bill Belichick just yelling at people, I'm a Hall of Famer. Like, that as his only response to anything. I mean, it's the same thing that, like, I'm sure Yankees fans just go 27 rings. Like, anytime you try to make fun of anyone and that has, like, an amazing accomplishment and you can throw that back, I bet you do it with your Lakers.
All the time.
You know what I mean?
All
you
the
just
time.
throw out, 8 championships?
8?
How many with the Lakers? 24? 18?
The Lakers have 17.
17.
Celtics have 18.
I don't know. I don't know where my brain went.
That's about how many they've won in L.A. They won a bunch in Minneapolis.
That's not true.
My brain just automatically
We won 10 in
went
LA,
there.
thank you. 10 in LA. Okay.
That's more than
10's
half.
close to 8.
4th down. Sorry to my diehard Lakers fan out there on the text line, singular. 4th down. What does DT being traded to the Bears tell you?
Man, he was only going to have a cap hit of $3.1 million. They only gave him a $20,000 signing bonus. So what that tells me is that something wasn't clicking. I'm watching the film, and he was having himself a nice preseason, man. I thought about the edge rushing group, and I go, this group is going to be on point. So I think there might have been something else going on with DT. When you're only getting, a 6th-round pick for this guy, he was, as you pointed out, almost a 1st-round pick. There has to be a disconnect, whether that's the little things he's being asked to do on the football field or maybe some personality stuff going on in the locker room. Either way, I thought DT was having himself a nice season. So what that tells me also is that Draymond Jones is going to be used more on the outside. He hasn't been healthy, but we'll see what happens there. It means Boye Mafe's had a good preseason. They like him. It means that Derek Hall, who I think everyone thinks is taking a step up, and then Uchenna Nwosu is going to be good to go. I really liked this edge rushing group with DT in the mix. Now that he's not there, it's going to look a bit different, but I think they're going to be fine and good to go. I also think that DT is going to a good situation with the Bears where he's not going to be relied upon to be the guy. He can blend right in and do his thing, man. It's been an interesting tenure over here with DT as far as his career, man. He's been banged up. Took a while for him to get on the field. He had like a leg injury to start his career. He had a good year where he had 9 sacks, I believe, or something like that. But it's been up and down. So I think the consistency was part of the deal, and maybe he wasn't picking up some little technical things when it comes to playing the position. But man, DT, man, appreciate your time here. You had a couple good years, and good luck to you over there in Chicago.
He was criticized quite a bit for his play against the run. Do you think it's something where it's like he had the ability to do it and did it sometimes, but maybe just didn't? I remember listening to Wyman talk about it, and he was like, he can do it. He just sometimes doesn't.
Yeah.
And like that was where he was stuck when it came to DT.
One of the greatest moments in Seahawks history.
Yeah.
DT running out on the football field. When he was on the sideline, was it after like an interception or something? DT runs out on the field, almost throws a block. No one catches it.
Oh my God.
That is one of the greatest moments in Seahawks history. If y'all haven't seen that, go ahead and check it out.
All over Twitter too, with people being like, "How was this not caught?" Just a maybe not a quick thinking move in that moment, but objectively funny.
Hey, he was emotionally invested in the game.
You know what I mean? That's a good teammate.
Yeah.
He's being a good teammate.
Good teammate.
You're listening to Bump and Stacy on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app. Foul territory analyst and one-time Mariner Cameron Maben wasn't sad to see Scott Service get let go yesterday. Hear what he had to say about the former skipper next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Shannon, why Dan Wilson?
Dan Wilson, there is absolute familiarity with both ways. He knows the organization inside out. They know him inside out. But in the organization, they're going to listen to him because who he is to this history. Dan Wilson is Dan Wilson, Mariner, and Seattle, and established. He is coming in with who he is, with what he knows, and I think that he will have the opportunity to perhaps do some things that maybe Scott Service wasn't able to.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
Next in line, please.
So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. With 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow.
Would you like that gift wrap?
Really ties it all together. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online to switch today. Offer ends 9/22/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet. Eagle bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, You'll be sorry.
I'm here with my friend Mark Clymer from Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn. Mark, is now the best time to buy a new car?
Well, it absolutely is right now because we have our factory invoice sale going on right now, which means you're going to pay what we pay. And this is on all our 24 model vehicles, basically, everything except for Raptors. So we're talking F-150s, Rangers, Mavericks, F-250s, Explorers, Escapes, Expeditions. You name it, these are brand new 2024 models. They also come with our lifetime powertrain coverage and 5 days or 500-mile, 100% money-back guarantee, so you can shop with total confidence. There's no negotiating, nothing. You pay what we pay. We're overstocked right now, and we need to make room. We have a lot more vehicles coming in. So, yeah, you're right. If you've been putting it off and you're looking to get a new Ford, for a limited time, we're having our factory invoice sale. You pay what we pay.
Take the hassle out of car shopping. You know you're getting a great deal at Wayscar Ford, Isuzu in Auburn. WayscarFord.com.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY. Let's talk about summertime. Bikinis, the occasional Speedo, sunshine, and almost always more drinking. But don't let the wine coolers or hard lemonades fool you. Too many drinks at the beach can get you in a whole lot of trouble. You're sporting a farmer's tan, but the police are wearing heavy, dark uniforms. And it's not because they're comfortable. If you don't take preventative measures, your summer tan can become a costly burn. Take a designated driver with that aloe vera and SPF 50. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com to set up a free private consultation. Jail is no place to ask, missed a spot? Mind getting where I can't reach? Be reasonable this summer. And always remember, 1-800-DUI-AWAY has your back.
1-800-DUI-AWAY. Headed outdoors or on the water this weekend? Check in with Joey and Nellie on the Outdoor Line from 6 to 8 a.m. every Saturday on SeattleSports.com.
Tired of slow play? Kickstart your day with an early round of golf. Get a round in before work with early morning light and faster pace of play. From Bellingham, Everett, and Marysville to Linwood, Bellevue, and Seattle, even out on the coast, there's a premier course near you. Play Interbay, Jackson Park, Jefferson Park, West Seattle, Bellevue, Legion Memorial, Walter E. Hall, Linwood, Cedar Crest, Lake Patton, Ocean Shores, or the Crossroads Par 3. The courses are in great shape and ready for your next round. Go to premiergolfcenters.com to book your tee time today.
To me, the LJ way is to provide an experience that people really enjoy being a part of. And they enjoy being a part of it because they're getting great service. They're talking with somebody that actually they feel cares about them. They care about what their impression is going to be walking away. It's also understanding you're now part of our family, and thank you for doing the business with us. And this is how we're going to show our appreciation through customer service. We're going to show our appreciation with taking care of you if you ever have an issue. Majority of the people that are coming to see us are within our community. These are people who are providing maybe services that we also use in our community. So the LJ way, to me, somebody can come into a retail setting and not feel like they got to have their guard up. And that's been a long-standing thing in the car business that, you know, we've tried to shake.
The LJ way is the Lee Johnson Auto family.
The Mariners are all about giving you more baseball for your buck. Snag seats for as little as $10 on select dates all season long with Mariners Value Games. Plus, be sure to check out the Mariners Value Menu, available at every game and featuring 11 items priced from $2.50 to $4. Enjoy ballpark classics like hot dogs and peanuts, new treats like churros and chocolate chip cookies, and more. To get your Value Game tickets and check out all the value options at T-Mobile Park, go to mariners.com/value.
This is The Timeline
with Bump and Stacy.
Brought to you by 1-800-DUI-AWAY.
It's The Timeline on Bump and Stacy, reading you the top stories that you're going to hear about on your own timeline. Yesterday, this one was making the rounds. Following the firing of Scott Service, Cameron Maybin was on foul territory. He spent some time with the Mariners about 6 years ago, I believe, 30 starts or 60 games, something like that. Cameron said that he wasn't necessarily surprised because there was always, to him, in his experience, a communication issue with Scott Service.
My experience with Scott Service is he wasn't the best communicator in my eyes. I don't think I was the only one who felt like that who has played for him. I don't think he's a manager that ever really has the guys, who has the boys. And I don't know if the boys ever really feel like this guy really has our back. And it's just my personal experience.
He went on to talk about a larger communication problem with the Mariners.
When you talk about professional athletes, we think these guys are so good and so talented that they can figure it all out on their own. Well, you actually need the right guys around them, the right voices, different voices to sometimes go, oh, okay, this clicked for me. And I just think one thing that they've lacked, and even, talking with my guy, D. Gordon, he went through a lot of frustration with the lack of communication there, the lack of instruction there. So this isn't something that I'm making up. These are things that I've heard have been an issue with the organization. And I think right now Julio is a product of that.
Bump, what do you think of Cameron's comments?
One, I want to say I love his accent. Sounds like Randy Moss to me a little bit, like Randy Moss' little cousin. Two, here's the thing about when guys get let go. The people who had issues with their philosophies or communication are going to come out and start saying stuff. The people who didn't have those issues are not going to say much. The louder people are going to be on the negative end. That doesn't mean there isn't any truth to what he's saying in this situation. I've never met a coach. I've never heard of a coach that is connected with every single player in their relationship. We're on point no matter what. When you deal with so many players, man, you're going to rub some people the wrong way. Mm-hmm. But when you listen to him say this and talk about the communication, and you observe his demeanor in the dugout, you can try to start, or you can start putting pieces together and say, well, I can see where he's coming from based off of the little knowledge that I have of Scott Service, of watching him in the dugout, listening to him speak before and after the games. Yeah, I could see where that can happen with a player or two, or maybe more than a player or two. So I think you respect what someone who's been in that situation is telling you, but I think you also have to respect that I'm sure there are a bunch of players that love Scott Service and had great communication with him.
That's the thing. I think of every job I've ever had, there were probably people that loved the boss and people that hated the boss. This isn't me doing some blanket defense of Scott Service. This is me saying that Cameron Maybin's experience was very true to him. That experience was also several years ago, and I would be very curious. We're never going to hear it, like a true version of it. I'd be very curious to know how JP feels about Scott, or how he feels Scott's grown as a manager. How, I don't know, how Mitch Haniger feels about Scott in his second stint under Scott Service. I'd be curious to know how players today feel, particularly ones that have been coached under Scott for a while, whether they could speak to, he used to really suck at this, but now he's better, or whether they think he's not very good at it still. That's who I want to hear from. We just can't. And so while I attach importance to Cameron's experience because he actually experienced it. It was his experience. I also know that there's context of it being 6 years ago.
I guarantee you, I've coached hundreds of kids in my day. There are kids out there who don't like me, who didn't like my coaching style. And there are more kids who did like me and like my coaching style. That's the human experience. You're not going to get along with your bosses and your coworkers in every interaction on every level. So you take it for what it is, but I'm with you. I want to hear from guys who've been with this team for years and who've been through the grind with Service and get their opinion on it.
I also will say, while I'm not a beat reporter, and so I'm not there every single day, and I recognize that everything I hear is through the grapevine or via other people, I haven't heard bad things about Scott Service in the years that I've covered him. I wasn't that connected during his early tenure, but I've never heard so-and-so hates Scott.
No.
Never once.
You disagree with some decision making or maybe a quote or two.
Yeah.
But that's just living in the world we live in. You're not going to agree with everything everyone says.
Well, and that was an experience 6 years ago. Who's to say that Scott Service is the same manager in 2024 as he was in 2018? That was only his, I think, second or third full season.
Right.
I think most people at that point are still kind of not necessarily learning the ropes of the job, but probably learning, still learning interpersonal communication with that many people, as Bump said. I mean, you've got 26 guys on your roster plus a coaching staff that's like 10 to 12 deep. I mean, you're probably overseeing a group of 40 to 50 people every day.
Yeah, I don't know that Cameron's experience is as Bump said, reflective of everyone's. And I wish we could hear of people who have been coached by Scott more recently, because I think my gut would tell me it's much more positive. that being said, John Morosi talked about those communication skills lacking. He says he was hearing that, but then also adds a little bit of context.
Scott, I do think, and I saw Cameron Maben's comments earlier today on Foul Territory about he was criticizing Scott's communication skills effectively, as I can put a very fine point on what Cameron said. And Cameron played for him, so I think it's important to take those criticisms into consideration in context. I would think that is probably a fair critique, that maybe communication is something that Scott could have done better, perhaps at different times. But he's still a good manager. By the way, it's very common for managers of a certain age, more veteran managers, whenever things don't go well, the one of the quickest things to say is, well, there's a communication breakdown. And that was said about Mike Scioscia, who's won a World Series. That was said about Joe Girardi, who's won a World Series. That is a common refrain whenever things don't go well.
You aren't a manager for 9 years being a horrible manager. Like anyone trying to rewrite history being like, oh, Scott was horrible. It's not the version I remember.
No. Here's the thing with communication. You do something long enough, there's going to be people who don't agree with the way that you communicate. Your job as a leader, as a manager, is to take that information and try to grow from it and have it maybe change the way you approach certain situations. I have 150 football players come through my program every single year at ETA. And every year we get emails about communication. Mm-hmm. Every single year we get emails about communication. You deal with enough people, there are going to be some people who don't agree with the way that you communicate or want more communication from you. That's just part of being in business. That's part of being a coach, is that your communication skills or the way you communicate aren't going to resonate with somebody. You know, like me being a West Coast guy, with my family alone, when I go down south, I got to change the way I communicate because we communicate differently, you know? And when you're in an organization where you get players from everywhere, every walks of life, from South America, from the South, from the North, I mean, everywhere, communication is going to be lost at some point. Not making an excuse for Scott, but that's the reality of the situation. It's impossible for him to be perfect with his communication. There are going to be stories where just people don't agree with him.
I'm not saying Scott's Dusty Baker by any means. I'm saying there are some players who I'm sure don't like Dusty Baker. Like there's some people out there who hated being coached under Bill Belichick. I use those two as examples because they are clearly incredible coaches that fans will almost unanimously say are very clearly good. But that doesn't mean that players will always say that. There's always going to be different opinions. I just don't think, and I'm open to being wrong. Like I'm trying to be open to my opinion being wrong. Mm-hmm. So the reason I play this sound is because I'm trying to be open to that. I don't think Scott Service was fired because he's a bad manager. I think he was fired because this is a bad team that doesn't know how to fix itself. And firing a manager felt like the only move they could realistically make.
That is the only move that they could make that has the potential to impact play on the field at this point.
Mm-hmm. Last one here. Let's have some fun. A Las Vegas news station got a brutally honest season review of the Raiders from a 10-year-old fan.
If you're so into the NFL, you know your Raiders, I can tell right here. How are you feeling with the team this year?
We're not going to the Super Bowl. I already know it.
We got a realistic Raiders fan here. This is odd. This is the first interview I've ever had like this. The Super Bowl chances are not good, but what is it going to take for the Raiders to have a successful season, you think?
Not to get arrested.
Okay, that's definitely an interesting one. I would agree with that. Yeah, getting someone in prison, that's going to hurt the chances.
That reporter did not know what to say after, for real. Neither would I. I think I would have just started laughing and been like, I don't know what to say here to not get in trouble.
You know what? This kid is the kid listening to grown folks' conversations. When I was a kid, my mom used to be like, it's a grown folks' conversation, man. Go take your butt to the room somewhere. And then I sit around the corner and just take a knee and listen to everything they're saying.
That wrestling, yeah, definitely probably came from his dad.
Oh,
yeah, for sure. Over a couple beers with the bros in the garage.
Yeah.
And he took all that in.
I just like the way he explains it in general. If you guys see the video, he's just kind of smiling like, yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Time for the IRG injury report brought to you by IRG Physical and Hand Therapy. Jerome Baker returned to Seahawks practice yesterday. That's good news, trending in the right direction there for a week 1 start. Mike McDonald was also asked if he thinks Noah Fant and Pharaoh Brown will be back by week 1 of the regular season. He says that they're certainly trending in that direction. A little bit more from Mike right here.
I don't think the likelihoods changed or anything like that. I mean, I think they're on schedule. A lot of things can happen between now and then, so I don't want to like give you one thing or another, but we're optimistic.
All right. You're listening to Bump and Stacy on Seattle Sports and the Seattle Sports app. Dan Wilson isn't just the interim manager for the Mariners. He's the guy moving forward. But why was he chosen for the role? Jerry DiPoto explains what makes Dan Wilson the right fit next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
He is our guy, John Morosi.
This has much more to do with the way the players have performed than Scott's acumen as a baseball manager or even Dan Wilson's potential as a baseball manager. This has everything to do with the inability of this group of hitters to make consistent, meaningful, hard contact against pitches in the strike zone. Period. That's really it. And once you've basically decided that you've seen that movie way too many times and that you just have to turn the page.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Welcome to IRG Sports Injury Update. We're with Shannon O'Kelly, physical therapist and president of IRG Physical and Hand Therapy, and our guest, Caitlin Paskowich, IRG physical therapist and board-certified sports medicine resident.
Katie, tell us from a perspective of a physical therapist that's going to treat a shoulder dislocation when they come into your office, from an assessment standpoint, treatment plan, and return to activity.
Yeah, one of the biggest things we'll see is athletes who come in after a shoulder dislocation. They can vary in their injury range quite a bit. So we'll see tendon injuries, ligament injuries, nerve injuries, and all of those things we want to address. Early range of motion, slow and pain-free. We want to get their strength back. We want to make sure they have their neuromuscular control of their shoulder blade again. And all of those are how we kick off PT with a shoulder dislocation.
The shoulder's connected to the core's to the hips to legs. So as a physical therapist, particularly sports medicine physical therapist, you're looking at the whole closed chain or kinetic chain, we call it.
That's the beauty of physical therapy. When you come in, we're going to take a look at that core. We're going to take a look at your hips. We want to make sure that your body is moving as it should entirely.
And a lot of people get back to activity. I mean, as soon as you control the pain, get the range of motion back, start working on some strength, then you're going to really work on function and really kind of be specific to return to play activities as a sports therapist.
Exactly. It's going to vary drastically by age. Some of our younger individuals we tend to be a little bit safer with because they tend to dislocate again. We try to get you back to function as soon as possible, and that's why we work on this early strengthening, early stabilization.
And anybody that has a dislocation, physical therapy is going to benefit from a standpoint of stability, strength, and function. Everybody needs that.
100%. We want you to come in after your shoulder is dislocated. We hope to start you as soon as possible once you see your orthopedic surgeon.
Katie, thank you for your information. If you want more information regarding sports medicine or injuries, you can contact Katie at irgpt.com. That's irgpt.com.
With over 40 neighborhood clinics around Washington, IRG has you covered. Let IRG be your family's physical therapist. Find the location nearest you at irgpt.com. That's irgpt.com.
It's the last days of summer and everyone's trying to squeeze in just a little bit more. It's Mike Salk here, and making the most of your summer could mean a road trip, camping, around a golf with some old friends, or that big home project, right? If a roof was on your checklist this year, now's the time to make it happen. The days are slowly getting shorter, the temperatures are starting to decrease, and the window is closing on getting that quick roof replacement. Worry not. You can still get it done with Riverside Roofing. Here's what you do. Go to riversideroofingllc.com. You'll be prompted with a quick quote, enter your information, and they'll give you a quote in less than 60 seconds. Do it right now. Putting it off any longer won't make it go away. It only makes it more difficult. So trust Riverside Roofing with your roof replacement. I did, and you should as well. They're also certified Tesla roof installers, so they can go that direction, and they'll use the catch-all system to protect your lawn. They're Master GAF Elite certified. You can find them online at riversideroofingllc.com. It's Riverside Roofing, the roofing company you can trust.
Having quality care matters to everybody. So, let's talk about it. Optum Care Washington is healthier primary and specialty care. Your doctor can connect you to the care you need with top clinicians in more than 55 specialties, including podiatry, orthopedics, sports medicine, and spine specialists. And if you ever need ENT, breast, or colorectal surgery, you can count on board-certified surgeons. For top local doctors focused on you, connect with Optum at yourhealthwa.com.
The noon hour of the Bump and Stacy Show is powered every day by the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law Personal Injury Lawyers. Go to pendergastlaw.com.
Jake was suffering from osteoarthritis when his doctors asked him to consider surgery.
However, there's a 9-month recovery period where essentially you're not walking and you're not putting much in the way of weight on.
That wasn't going to work for him, so he decided to see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
I heard the ads, and that caused me to do due diligence.
And how are you doing now?
There's not really any pain now at all. I have no limitations in what I want to do.
Wow, so you're able to do anything you want to do?
I recently played golf at Cycle House down in Pebble Beach, walked 18 holes, which I hadn't been able to do for a number of years, and then went for about a 2-mile walk with my friend.
I take it you'd recommend stem cell therapy to others then?
Absolutely. Had I known then what I know now, I would have done this several years ago and saved myself a lot of pain and suffering and agony and limitation to activity.
Before you choose surgery, consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
So I formed Davis Law Group about 30 years ago, and I would get, the same questions from people about what to do in the case of an accident. Do you need a lawyer? To the point where I decided that I would at least write a book which would answer the common questions that I would receive as a lawyer. Once I wrote my first book, it proved to be hugely popular. I decided to write then a series of books in different accident cases so that we could really teach people about their rights, how to protect them, and how to decide on whether they need a lawyer and what lawyer to hire. I've found in my career that having a client that is educated and knowledgeable about their particular type of case really helps the client and also usually ends up making the case or the claim more successful. To get your free copy of any of my Washington accident books, visit WashingtonAccidentBooks.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2
on Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
All right, taking your calls in 15 minutes. You can talk about just how you're feeling about the firing of Scott Service in general. Our caller question is going to be, are the Mariners better or worse today? So think about your answer for that for 10 minutes if the Mariners are better or worse today. With Scott Service out, Dan Wilson in. Jerry Dipoto spoke with reporters yesterday and was asked, obviously, about Dan Wilson now as a permanent manager. He's now not an interim manager. And he was asked specifically what makes Dan the right fit.
Dan is about as clear and easy a conversation as you're going to have. I have, especially over the last few days, but over the last 9 years, I've learned he's an incredibly patient person, kind-hearted. As soon as he walks into a room, he's there to help you. And, that is inviting to any player, whether it's, the guy who pitches the eighth inning or the guy who hits cleanup. He has been on good teams. He knows what good baseball is. He's been behind the plate for a dozen years of what was a Mariners Hall of Fame career as kind of a field general for the best teams in franchise history, really. And the respect factor that he brings to the table from the people that he played with, the people he led, and the people he's worked with in our organization.
Bump, anything stand out to you about Jerry's answer when it comes to Dan as a fit for the Mariners?
He's here to help. And that's his main job right now, is to help these bats get going and help the mental of this team. He also talks about his experience, right? He knows what winning baseball looks like. The only concern I have, there are always concerns with hires, right? Even if we were talking about Sean McVay, it was concerned that he was too young or anywhere. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm attacking Dan, because that's not what I'm doing. It's just this is the reality of the situation. His winning baseball was in 95. The game has changed so much since then, but he has been involved in this game for a while. He's been hitting coach. He's been a interim manager in Tacoma for a while. Like, he's been around the game, but never in this position. So obviously there are going to be some things that come up that he might have experienced from the outside looking in, but now he's in. He has to experience it himself, even if it's just in the last 6 weeks of this season. But no, it sounds like Jerry trusts him and that he is I wouldn't say a nurturer, but a person who will present himself as a person you can count on and trust if you need something from him. And maybe that's what this team needs, because when I looked at Scott, I wouldn't see him as a guy who will put his arm around a kid and say, hey, everything's going to be okay. He's a guy, to me, he was the kind of guy, bring you into the office, okay, let's sit down and talk about this, and I will walk you through this with as much logic as possible, where sometimes you just need that human emotion and say, pat him on the back and say everything's going to be good.
Do you think there's a little bit of this that's going to have to be players maybe kind of taking it upon themselves? It's not like I'm saying Dan can't lead. I know he doesn't have managerial experience, but he's obviously respected. He knows the organization. He knows these guys. Jerry DiPoto talked about him being a familiar face. But it feels like he didn't start the season with the team. Obviously, it feels like this is going to have to be on the players' shoulders a little bit.
It always is, especially in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm calling and texting all of my baseball dudes, guys who've been in the game 25, 30 years, man. End of the day, it's on the ball players. You can say what you want to say. And in a sport where the manager has so little control on what happens, like I think some people at least, there are Texans who understand this, but some people think that, the manager is responsible for so much more than they really are.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just supposed to be a spark. As a manager, you manage emotions, you manage the clubhouse, and you make a few decisions. But it's up to the players. The players got to take this as a challenge and take this new voice, take what you can from him. But when it's all said and done, they're the ones in the batter's box, on the mound, on the diamond.
Jerry DiPoto talked a bit more on top of this about kind of when the idea for the change from Scott to Dan started.
It's something that we talked about collectively for a little while now, and obviously escalated here lately. And as I said, where we were in the middle of June and where we were today is it's hard to believe actually how quickly it all dissolved for us and the way our team has played. I've got those that I work with closely, Justin, Andy, John, and our front office group. And, they're the people I lean on for all of these decisions, these discussions. And, I think I'm not speaking for each one of them independently, but collectively we determined that our organization needed this and we needed to do something to create a different theme, a different vibe in our clubhouse.
I find it interesting that that's really all you can control. He's not wrong. But when you talk about what changes going from Scott Service to Dan Wilson, I hear vibe, I hear voice, I hear tone. That's all you can change.
It's like a DJ mixing up at a club or something. All right, this music ain't getting the people on the dance floor. Mm-hmm. So what do? I mix it up, I scratch it, I mix another song in there, and that gets the people going. That's essentially what we're hearing and what Jerry's talking about right now. Because I think Jerry's keeping it realistic too. Like, there's only so much a manager can do. What he can do is change the vibe and the tone of a clubhouse. So that's what Dan's here to do.
Are the Mariners better, worse, or the same today? 866-979-3776. You are calling in to answer that question. We're opening up phone lines for your calls. I know that a lot of you guys feel some kind of way about the firing of Scott Service and the hiring of Dan Wilson, because I've seen it all over the text line. Bump and I have seen it all over Twitter. This is the obviously number one story in the city today. It's what everyone is talking about, and there are some strong opinions about whether or not it was the right or wrong choice. So we figured we'd start with, are the Mariners better or worse today? And you can sound off about, obviously, what you think about it, the move itself, if you think it helps. I would say that I've seen not necessarily optimism about the rest of the season, Bump, but a lot of people saying it was the right choice. I find that to be interesting. But I'm so excited to hear what you guys have to say. 866-979-3776. Call now.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Who better to bring on than Jeff Passan, ESPN? Why do you think this happened yesterday?
It is ultimately going to be on the manager, right? Jerry DiPoto is probably not going to fire himself. We're past the trade deadline. There needs to be a shakeup of some manner, and clearly Jared DeHart went along with Scott Service here, so they're trying to do something. I guess that thing is the new voice. Different in this case may not be a bad thing.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Fall Classic collector car, truck, and boat auction. Saturday, August 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Gates open at 9 a.m., auction starts at 10 a.m. Up to 200 collector, vintage, and classic vehicles. Many going to the highest lucky bidder with absolutely no reserve. Get lucky, get local, and get in line. Visit LuckyOldCar.com. That's LuckyOldCar.com or call 206-467-6531 for bidding and consignment details.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into video only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
What does the Seahawks jersey mean? It's football.
Drops back, has time, loads up, throws. It's intercepted! Does he keep his feet in? He does! Seahawks ball!
It's community.
The stands are rocking right now. Nobody has left this place. It is pandemonium.
It's Seattle. This is your jersey. This is the Pro Shop. The Seahawks Pro Shop has the largest selection of Seahawks jerseys. Come try one on at the Landing in Renton or at Lumen Field.
Downy Rinse and Refresh. Break up with stinky clothes.
Rinse it out. Every now and then I get a little bit tired of the stinks that just will never come out. Going down in the rinse straight. Every now and then I rinse it out. One wash and it delivers. One wash and smells so clean. Downy Rinse and Refresh, it's a dream.
Downy Rinse and Refresh removes 100% of odor in just one wash. Guaranteed.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you're always looking for ways to position your operation to create opportunities and move on them faster. With Bank of America, you get access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2024 Bank of America N.A.
Need assistance with door and window projects? The Home Depot can help. From inspiration and materials to ordering and installation, our free Millwork virtual apron service can get you moving and doing. Plus, we speak Spanish too. Our associates can help you tackle complex jobs without you leaving the job site, saving you time and money. Call us at 1-833-HD-APRON or visit homedepot.com/MVA. The Home Depot, how doers get more done.
She posted about us just now.
Celebrities can't get enough of Biana's bespoke skincare line.
She has 147 million followers. How do we monetize?
She needs a social media associate to help her with the hype.
We should repost this. Do we need a hashtag?
Indeed can help her hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. Go ahead, feel your engine. Admire that perfectly installed exhaust. Your vehicle's moving along this freeway like it was made from fresh installs and a whole lot of love. With eBay Motors, you get over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Life insurance. Why are you putting it off? Can't afford it? Too much hassle? Think you don't need it? There's lots of excuses for putting off life insurance. But if you weren't there, who would pay the mortgage and other bills? With Ethos, you could be covered in 10 minutes and boom, family protected. Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
For a second consecutive day, the Seahawks have made a trade. Seattle sent former second-round pick Darrell Taylor to Chicago for a 2025 sixth-round pick. Mariners president of baseball operations Jerry DiPoto told reporters yesterday that Dan Wilson, who was hired to replace the recently fired Scott Service, will be the permanent manager going forward.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. from the Quantum Fiber Studio
This is Bump and Stacy.
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
You guys are blowing up the phone lines for this one. Mac and Jack's phone line is 866-979-3776. If you call in right now, it's full. Every single time we hang up on someone, there's an open one. I will let you know when to call so that you're not holding forever. So we are going to start with Tim in Tacoma. Are the Mariners better or worse today? Tim, how are you feeling?
Hey, good morning, folks. Thanks for taking my call. The Mariners are drastically worse. This is another terrible decision by Dipoto. We deserve, as fans, for this organization to scour the world for the best manager. This is not an interim hire. This is a permanent spot. Dan is a great guy. He was a great player. But does he have the fire in his guts to turn this team up? The best years of this team, Lou was at the helm. He had fire. He had gusto. Those are the best years. Dan is a great guy, but is he going to get these guys riled up to play some baseball? I don't think so, man.
Right. Thank you, Tim. Tim pointing out something in the beginning that I feel like I've seen a little bit, and it's a really good point with, yes, it's very cool to have a fan favorite and someone who everyone clearly likes. Like, never heard a bad thing about Dan Wilson. But when an organization, and I would say that's about any organization, including the Seahawks, we said this, if an organization struggles and has a big problem, sometimes you want outside eyes, outside ears. And so it's kind of a bummer when you don't at least try to bring that in or look at it.
I heard Tim from Tacoma say that this process might have been rushed and that you didn't scour and search near and far for the right fit. The only pushback I have for Tim is that we don't know Dan like that. We don't know if he has the fire or not. We don't know how passionate he is. Jerry and the gang, they do know that about him. And whatever he is, personality-wise, they feel like that's the fit for this team. So I would agree in the sense that I would have preferred for them to take their time with this. And maybe they've been looking for a month.
Yeah.
You know, who knows what the timetable is. But to the outside looking in, it seems as if they made a really quick decision, but it also feels like they had their guy waiting in the wings.
Let's go to Danny calling from New York City. Danny, are the Mariners better or worse today?
I think no change has happened, so it's worse because, like, I'm a Mariners fan now, 35 years, living in New York City and hearing how fans cry here about their Yankees. It's brutal because it's even worse for us. Like, I think it was, what's the stat? I think 27 out of the last 30 world champions were in the top 10 in budget spent. And so when you look at this offseason, Santander, Bregman, Christian Walker, Soto, are we going to get one or two of these guys? The answer is probably going to be no. We're going to go back to the bargain bin bat, and we're going to be back in the same spot, and Dan Wilson's probably going to be on the hot seat again. I just think the problem is deeper, and I wish there'd be more of an emphasis on holding the ownership accountable, but there's no way to do that, so it's just really frustrating.
Thanks for the call, Danny. Danny's saying they feel the same, which might actually be the worst thing.
That doesn't make sense to me, though. If they feel the same, it can't be worse if it feels the same. I think if it feels the same, we just haven't seen what Dan is capable of doing with this squad yet. And I feel for him living in New York City and having to watch Soto and Aaron Judge and that roster just go nuts and have to watch the Mariners do the exact opposite when it comes to that approach. I think obviously that has some type of influence to the way that he's thinking. But if it's the same right now, then you can't call it worse, in my opinion.
Well, I think he's saying, like, what I wanted was change. And so the fact that we didn't get change, true change, feels bad. But to Dan's point, I think you and I kept talking about, like, whether or not we'd keep Service or whatever with Service. And it was never you or I saying Scott Service is the best manager in the world. It was you and I saying firing Scott Service doesn't solve a bigger problem. And I think that's what maybe Dan is getting at a little bit. Maybe it's just because it's how I know you and I feel. That's what I hear. Mm-hmm. But that's still how I feel today. So I can kind of get the sentiment of, like, unless you solve the bigger problem, it doesn't do anything.
What if, I don't think this is correct.
Okay.
What if Scott is a bigger problem?
That's fair. I mean, it's possible.
It's possible. You and I don't feel that way, but I guess we'll find out if Scott Ward was a bigger problem.
Exactly,
or not.
and that's what I'm curious to see what the rest of the season is like. I could 1,000% be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to Jason and Everett. Jason, are the Mariners better or worse today?
Stacy, Bump, good. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I don't think it can get worse. I mean, we are the worst hitting team. It can't get worse. It depends how they respond to this firing. I texted you guys a minute ago to express it. It's kind of like they're disciplining a child right now. It's like they're taking away something they like, which is Scott's service, hoping that they will respond. So hopefully, Bump, you wanted this in a sentence yesterday. Hopefully they pull it off and they're all skibbity from here.
Thanks, Jason. Bump, what do you think about the idea of, look, they can really only get better. Maybe the vibes work.
I think that I like his analogy, right? It's like disciplining a child. You got to take something away. But if they do get worse, there's always going to be, there was too much to fix because Scott did all the damage already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're always going to be able to lean on something. Like, there's no lose for these guys in a situation if we're talking about the people making the decisions. They can say, well, we only gave Dan 6 weeks, man. There's only 30-some games left. Like, what do we expect him to do? Or he goes out and this team performs and they're saying, that was it. We figured it out. So, yeah, I'm not mad at the with the call. And thanks for the skibbity reference in a sentence. Thank you.
Let's go to Pete calling from Seattle. Carol, are the Mariners better or worse today, Pete?
How you doing, guys? I don't think they're better or worse. I think what has to happen is the front office needs to let the manager run the field. And I don't think Scott Service ever got the chance to do that. I think Dan Wilson bringing in a fresh set of eyes is a great move. I think it should have happened 4 years ago. How many GM coach combinations get 9 years to make the playoffs once? So that's what I have to say.
Thanks for the call, Pete. Do you think a baseball manager...
He'll never run the field.
No?
He will never run the field. I think those days are over unless there's some young hot shot that comes in and says, forget all the data, let me do me, and they start to win that way. Then other teams do it and catches on. Sports is such a copycat trend type of deal, right? One team does it, another team does it, there's success, and you fall in line and do your thing. But I don't think the managers will ever run the field like that again.
All right, let's go to Nelson calling from Kent. Nelson, are the Mariners better or worse today?
Before I give my answer, can I just say that there is a possibility with the schedule easing up here that the team does play better, and that doesn't necessarily mean that Scott was the issue.
Yeah.
It just means that you get through a tough schedule and you're going to start to face some lesser pitching here after the Giants. So I don't think that's going to be a definitive answer. I think as an organization, the team has gotten worse because with Dan, that clearly means that Jerry is safe. They're not going to give Dan the job, fire Jerry, because a new guy, new GM, new president of baseball ops would want to hire his own guy. So Jerry's sticking around, and to me, he's a bigger issue than Stanton. Now, I think as far as like the team right now, I think it's possible that they're better just on the fact that players might be upset. They might feel like they got to go out and prove themselves more. It just might strike some sort of emotion, you know. I know some people are worried about they didn't find a manager with experience or this or that. I mean, Stephen Vogt had no managerial experience, and he's got the Guardians in first place, and he was also on this coaching staff. That would have been a nice guy to have. You know, I actually really like Dan Wilson. I think he's going to do a good job. He does not strike me as the type that is going to have Jerry be telling him how to make certain decisions. I actually think with the hiring of Dan, that is kind of Jerry in a certain way stepping back from like the control that
So,
we've
Nelson, you
heard
think on the
that he's
field it'll be better? Like game decisions you think could be better?
I think it's possible that it is better. I think the playoffs are done. I think out of the question. One more quick thing before I go. This season has been such a whirlwind of emotions, man. Like, from being in first place but never really feeling like a real legit first-place team, because even while we were watching it, the hitting was just really brutal. And now I'm sitting here questioning, like, do I want my team to stink so that there's actually real change? Like, maybe if they fall 10 games back, maybe construction and all that, and say, you know what, like, we just can't do this. So the fact that I'm even asking myself that, I just hate. But, you know, real change will not come unless, whether you think it's Dipoto or you think it's Stanton, but you continue to support the team by going to the games, spending money. That's on us.
All right.
Until that stops, it's staying.
Thanks for the call, Nelson. So Nelson saying organizationally, no. Nelson thinks the bigger problem is the front office. But on the field, maybe. It's an interesting point hearing, like, well, maybe Dan Wilson just would not necessarily take kindly to someone telling him how to manage.
You know what? I'm listening to Nelson, and that part stuck out to me was that maybe he can get some emotion out of these players and they can play. Here's the thing about emotion. It only lasts for so long. Like, especially emotion will last you a few games, but then you know what's going to creep back in? The players that you put on this roster and the struggles that they have as individuals. It's going to pop up. You can't rely on emotion to win you ball games, man. That's just not how this thing works, especially when you're playing 162 and it's the hardest thing in the world to hit a baseball. You might get hot. You might go on a run, but you need foundation. What does foundation look like in baseball? It's having hitters that you know are going to make great decisions in the box, who are going to put the ball in play, and we just haven't seen enough of that consistently. Emotion ain't enough. So maybe it might be enough for the last 30-something games, or maybe you'll catch emotion for 10 or 12. End of the day, those ball players got to be the guys that Jerry thought they would be.
A very different approach to coaching compared to, like, it's not like I would run through a wall for that guy. It's this guy's been step by step with me through this process, so I just trust him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a very different way of managing. Interesting. Let's go to Mike in Langley. Mike, are the Mariners better or worse today?
Good morning. Actually, good afternoon. I think they're the same. They have the same, platoon hitters. They have, their same injured first line guys. They have the same overworked pen. And I think Ryan Rowland-Smith mentioned yesterday he's kind of surprised by the move this late in the year. And I would put this down to a John Stanton smokescreen. Not enough spend to complement a great pitching staff. That was brought out in Jim Bowden's interview with in the afternoon, July 25th. Mm-hmm. And here's another thing that Ryan Rowland-Smith mentioned a couple years ago when everybody was flush with the postseason appearance, and he tried to put a little bit of reality in the situation. He asked, how many of the Mariners' position players could start for, let's say, a first-tier team? I mean, we should ask that now. The Phils, Dodgers, Orioles, Houston, they really don't have the spend needed to complement the pitching. And Scott Service is a fall guy.
All right, thanks for the call, Mike. And I got to say, kind of common sentiment that I've seen agreeing with Mike in terms of Scott being a fall guy. Not everyone thinks that. Again, some people were yelling with joy. But I've also seen that. So let's go to Greg in Richland. Greg, are the Mariners better or worse today?
There's no change, I think, primarily because ownership has been in place for so long, and they're basically never changing. They don't ever seem to, back in the day we had some incredible players in the Kingdom, and we never had pitching. Now we have Safeco or T-Mobile, and we have pitching but no hitters. So it's just a legacy of the way the ownership has been, and I think that, if they keep on doing this, back in the past, the fan base started to stop coming to the games. And I've had a lot of friends who were lifelong Mariner fans no longer listen to them. And I try to get them back into it and saying, yeah, these new guys are going to help. But, ownership has the big play on it, and whatever they want to do, they can do. And the only way that we can react is by boycotting the Mariners.
Thanks.
So that's what I think. And then, they'll start losing money, and then they'll figure out, okay, well, maybe you guys are more important and we need to build a team for the future. I mean, after all, wasn't it just 3 years ago that they were building a team to go to the World Series?
Right. Thank you for the call, Greg. Last two calls kind of similar from Mike and Greg. Bump, what do you think?
I think they're right. There's no change right now. And even if we see 10 runs tonight, are people going to jump for joy and say there's been a change? No, because we've seen them score 10 runs and then go 2 the next game, right? You're going to see, only way you'll know if there is legit change is if over the next 3 series we see something. Because I don't think they put together 3 consecutive series in a while. It's been a while since we've seen them be consistent that way. The only way we're going to be able to measure real change is if they take advantage of a pitcher on the mound whose ERA is 5.25. It's over time, man. So that's why it's going to be hard to react to this change, because it's not like it's football to where the offense looks completely different and you're seeing new formations and the quarterback looks more comfortable in the pocket. It's a slow grind, man. So right now, no, I don't think. I think I'm with the callers right now. I don't know if they're better or worse. I think we're right here in the middle. Holler at me in 2 or 3 weeks.
All right. Well, Joel in Tacoma might have a different opinion. Joel, are the Mariners better or worse today?
Better. And the reason I say that is because I'm so tired of Scott Service saying, "Oh, we're going to get out of this. I believe in these guys." Dude, and then a press conference last week, he started laughing. And I mean, it's not funny. And for one, if I were the Mariners players, I would want Scott Service as my manager, because there's never going to be any accountability. They need somebody that's going to start holding them accountable when they jog to first base or they don't run hard to get a ball in the outfield. Like, I'm just tired of the kumbaya. Like, hold somebody accountable for once.
Oh, thank you for the call, Joel. Bump.
I've never seen anyone jog to first base or not. I saw, who was it, the Yankees the other day? Was it Grisham in outfield? That was lazy. Him giving poor effort to a ball out there. Here's the thing. We don't know if Service was holding these guys accountable or not. We don't know. Just because he's not the guy or wasn't the guy who was doing it in front of the cameras doesn't mean it wasn't being done. I'm not saying he was or he wasn't. What I'm saying is that it's hard for us to pin certain situations on Service when we simply don't know. Like, just because he didn't do it the way I would do it or the way Joel would do it doesn't mean it wasn't happening. So is it a possibility? No, like I said plenty of times here, man, it's I leave every possibility open, but I can't say definitively that he wasn't holding these guys accountable. That's I don't like that take because it's speculation, even though my job is to speculate every single day. But it's hard for me to speculate on the relationship someone has with someone behind closed doors, because Scott never struck me as a guy who's going to publicly discipline people. Maybe that's what this team needs, though. And it sounds like some people believe that Dan can be that guy. But is Dan going to be that guy with 36 games left, going to come in and just shake stuff up like that? He's liable to lose the clubhouse that way. Like, it is a tricky little dance that Dan has to play, being the manager of this team in this situation.
Let's go to line 5, Jeremy in Bothell. Jeremy, are the Mariners better or worse today?
I mean, let's be real. I think they're the same. Like you guys said,
this offense, and I mean, if they're hitting as bad as they are, let's just throw in a new face. And I mean, yeah, it's refreshing, but at the same time, it's year after year. It's like Rob Snyder in The Water Boy. We suck again, and it just feels like that over and over and over again. So I don't know what they need to do to wake them up, or like one caller said, accountability. But it really is like Groundhog's Day and Rob Snyder over and over again. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call, Jeremy. Were you so proud of me for getting Jeremy's reference?
Yes, I was.
Thank you.
That was a genuine laugh.
We've made Jeremy's point before, too, just privately talking about show emails being like, I'm saying exactly the same thing in my email. This is so frustrating.
Yeah. Let's go to another caller.
All right. Let me see here. I have a couple people. Let's go to line 3, Jeff in Seattle. Jeff, are the Mariners better or worse today?
I think they're the same. And this is my hot take. I remember when Jerry publicly commented on ownership's lack of support. Was that 2 years ago or so? I think that's the issue. I think they got to get that sorted out. And I think that's the bottom line.
Thanks for the call, Jeff. It feels like most people that are saying it feels the same are doing so not because the bats can't add, but because they worry that there's a systemic issue.
Yeah, because these people are looking at the move and saying, well, it's more than just that. There's more going on, more problems with this organization than just one person or maybe a couple person if you put in DeHart in that whole situation. I think, like you said, it's the system, it's the process, it's a lot. If I'm employed by this organization, just like the way I would imagine Scott felt like his job is in jeopardy, I'm like, my job might be in jeopardy.
Right.
And it ain't even personal. It's just real. When you ain't performing, when the guys that you got data on, the scouts going out to look at these guys, when they're recommending these dudes and they're coming here and not performing, it's just the nature of the business. You have to be like, all right, well, something ain't right, and maybe my job is up in the air as well. It ain't personal. It's just business.
Got a couple open lines here, 866-979-3776. Let's go to Wes, calling from Boise. Wes, are the Mariners better or worse today?
They're worse. But I didn't like Scott Service. I didn't like the way he managed the pitching staff. He was a bad manager of a pitching staff. But the big thing is Eugenio, Teoscar Hernandez, and Jared Kelnick. Where was Julio going to get his support in the lineup? When Teoscar was red hot last August, so was Julio. We got no bats. We traded our bats away. The guy can only manage what he can put out there. We got Garver, what is he, 170? We got Polanco, 210 or whatever it is. These guys are not going to be those three guys. And even the recent acquisitions, it was too little, too late. Owners screw up. The Potos should have been fired right away when the season started to go downhill. I don't care who has to do it. We're tired of that chump. I'm a lifetime Mariner fan. I used to wear earplugs at baseball practice when Niehaus was going my oh my, and I'm upset about it.
All right, thanks for the call, Wes. I definitely hear that emotion. I also hear that blinker. You better be driving safe out there. Look, Wes's point about you can't get rid of Teo, Gino, and Kelnick and expect to get better. Their reasoning for we want to cut down on strikeouts, and Kelnick you had to include to get the, I almost said the Falcons, to get the Braves to take on Evan White's contract, and maybe that is your own doing. One of the problems we talked about is, okay, you're getting rid of strikeouts, how do you add offense? Fundamental issue that they never solved. We knew heading into the offseason, you're getting rid of some offensive production here. How are you replacing it?
Yeah.
The answer was just that they didn't.
It's Scott's fault. They didn't replace it. It's Scott's fault. That's essentially what this move says. It's Scott's fault. I got the roster's there. The roster ain't there, man.
We still have quite a few callers. If you guys can hang on through the break, we will get right back to you. Don't go anywhere.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
It's become official. The Mariners have released the statement that Scott Service and Jarrett DeHart have been relieved of their duties.
As you like to say, divvy up the blame pie. Service, I think, had the smallest slice.
Something had to change. That was obvious. You can't run it back. The fan base just wouldn't accept it.
I just never thought, talking to guys like Cal and Logan, there's never been any kind of a hint whatsoever that was the problem. So, yeah, it's very shocking to me.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Homeowners, Bob Stelton here. Now, I'm sure you've seen metal roofs on commercial properties, but did you know they're an option for your home? Ever since speaking with Anthony at Asset Roofing about their metal roofs, I've been seeing them everywhere, and maybe because Asset Roofing is installing a ton of metal roofs this season. A metal roof lasts longer, is more eco-friendly, and is a great option for adding solar panels. Asset Roofing is leading the local push in metal roofing, and they can even offer metal roofs for up to 30% less than their competitors. Asset Roofing cuts each metal panel in-house, which speeds up the production process and saves customers money. If you're redoing your roof this year, get a quote from Asset Roofing on a metal roof. I recommend Asset Roofing because they're honest, do amazing work, and prioritize safety within their work culture. You're either hiring a liability or you're hiring an asset. Head to AssetRoofingCo.com. That's AssetRoofingCo.com.
Certified work is never in doubt. Asset Roofing, excellence is on the house.
Build your deck with PAR. Get everyday low prices on Trex and TimberTech composite decking. And get $100 off TimberTech, Trex, and AZEK railing and accessories with qualifying purchase. Visit par.com for details, but hurry, offer ends soon. What are you building?
Want to listen to Seattle Sports on your smart speaker?
Hey, smart speaker, play Seattle Sports.
This message is powered by the EQC Sportsbook at Emerald Queen Casino. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
If you're listening to this Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance ad, there's a good chance that you're alive. And if you're not, well, this may not be of interest to you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Life insurance, I'm going to live forever. Death is what happens to other people. Well, for the sake of argument, let's assume you're wrong, and that someday you won't be listening to the radio anymore. I know it's not easy to talk about, so I'll do the talking. If you're 50 plus and alive, or 50 to 75 in New York, you can apply for Gerber Life Guaranteed Life Insurance with guaranteed acceptance regardless of your health. And since this life insurance is guaranteed, you don't have to get a medical exam. In fact, you don't even have to fill out a health questionnaire. For a free quote, visit GerberLifeFamily.com. Then when you stop, if you stop listening to the radio, your family can use the insurance money to help cover your final expenses or anything else. Your kids already inherited your ears, allergies, and questionable singing voice. Don't make them inherit your final expense tab too. Visit GerberLifeFamily.com. See website for terms and restrictions.
Breaking ball struck him out. That's a dozen for George Kirby.
A Mariners game is the perfect place to spend a Seattle summer day. You can kick back with some Moto Pizza, take in the views of Elliott Bay, enjoy a local brew, and soak up the sun. It's like going to the beach, only better, because you don't have to pack a big cooler, you can't get stung by a jellyfish, and there's no sand to get in your shoes or anywhere else. Plus, the beach usually doesn't have JP, Cal, or Julio.
Fair ball, base hit. Julio hits third base. He's racing home. He's saved. Cal Raleigh delivers.
Pass me that sunscreen. Let's go. Mariners baseball. Tridents up.
The Mariners are back in town for a 6-game homestand against the Giants and Rays. The fun gets started today against San Francisco with sing-along fireworks night at 7:10, presented by T-Mobile. Then it's back-to-back afternoon matchups tomorrow and Sunday at 1:10 before 3 straight value games against Tampa Bay Monday through Wednesday. Get your tickets at Mariners.com.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Friends of Waterfront Park proudly presents the 4th annual Waterfront Block Party, Friday, August 30th from noon to 8:30, with events at Pier 62, the Olympic Sculpture Park, and Occidental Square. Join the celebration along the Seattle downtown waterfront and enjoy live music by a talented lineup headlined by True Loves, an open-air market, a promenade parade, food trucks, family-friendly crafts, and more. It's free and welcome to all ages. WaterfrontParkSeattle.org for more info.
Did you know about the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program? You can get an $80 benefit card to spend at local farmers markets. Use it to buy seasonal fruits, vegetables, and honey. Just bring your new SFMNP card with you when you shop. When you make a purchase, the grower will scan your card. Then you'll confirm the purchase with your PIN.
You're all set. Enjoy those tomatoes.
Thank you. I will.
Find participating markets, local contacts, and more info at seniorfmnp.com. That's seniorfmnp.com.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Are the Mariners better or worse today with Dan Wilson as manager and Scott Service out? Let's go to Eric in Gig Harbor. Eric, are the Mariners better or worse today?
Neither.
Okay, why?
Everybody's talking about Dan Wilson. I mean, these guys are trying to play up to their back of their baseball card, but I don't think anybody's going to go out and play any harder for Dan than they are for Scott. And if they couldn't get anybody better than Dan, I mean, I'm a huge Dan Wilson fan, but maybe there aren't any free agent managers out there that want to come play for this dumpster fire right now. I mean, it's got to be industry-wide. You can't name one free agent hitter next year that wants to come to Seattle.
It's bad, Eric. It's bad. Eric's saying, here's the thing about Eric's point. I don't know that they interviewed other managers. I don't know that it's, which maybe makes his point, but I think their sights were set on Dan. It sure sounds like, at least.
You know, speculation. It feels like Scott was going to be gone regardless after the season if they didn't make the playoffs. And smart organizations at least start devising a what-if plan, right? Armageddon plan. What if once June hit and you see that dip, they're thinking, all right, man, if this doesn't work out, who would be our guy if need be? And his name popped up. And the more they lost and you go on this road trip and you don't get it done, the more they start looking at Dan and saying, all right, man, it might be time for plan B. And then for Dan to really make this thing his, he needs an offseason. He needs spring training. He needs time with these guys to implement more of his culture and his philosophy. So as much as he would like to change right now, I don't think he's going to have a real effect on this organization until the offseason.
All right, let's go to Camille in Seattle. Camille, are the Mariners better or worse today?
I think it's hard to tell, but I honestly think that it can't get any worse than it is now. And so I'm looking at the situation with the glass half full, and I think that it's potentially time for them to get better.
All right, Camille saying,
I think that Scott mismanages the games. I think he does righty versus lefty situations that don't need to happen. He substitute pitching that probably costs them the game. Who knows how much the back office is really controlling that, but I think it's time for a change. 10 years is just too long.
All right, thanks for the call, Camille. Camille saying, look, you can't get any worse. Kind of combining Nelson's point from earlier, Bump, they are facing an easier spot in the schedule, too. And there is real room for improvement that's possible.
Yeah, timing's everything. They looked at this road trip and were like, man, you had opportunities here, didn't get it done. And then as far as mismanaging games, yeah, it happens. We've sat here and talked about Scott going, the handedness game and all that, when sometimes we're just saying, just put your best bat out there no matter who's out there and let him do his thing. But you don't think that handedness situation and how he's managing that, the information ain't coming from upstairs? he's getting that information, and they're saying, well, against lefties, this guy does this, that, and the third. Maybe it's him, maybe it's upstairs, or maybe it's a combination. Those are one of the things that I think we have to look at once Dan gets in and see how he manages those situations. And the question is going to be, is it him, Dan, or is it management finally saying, okay, let's just back off a little bit and let this guy do his thing?
Let's go to Bradley calling from Mill Creek. Bradley, are the Mariners better or worse today?
Well, honestly, I think they're better. There is kind of a smoke screen here with the offense being poor. You know, absolutely, we do miss Suarez and Teoscar, not Kelenic, though. But as much as the offense looks to be the issue, the bigger issue is taking starting pitchers out when they've only thrown 75 to 85 pitches. And that's happened so much this year. They've lost double-digit games where they had the lead into the seventh inning, and they bring in the crappy bullpen, and they blow the lead. And these starters have got to be getting sick of this because they have plenty in the tank, this pitch count and protecting their arms and this and that. A pitcher that's dominating game can pitch another inning.
Bradley, can I ask you a question? I know that you've been hanging out. Yeah. So first of all, totally agree with you about pitchers being frustrated. My secret thought is that they have a separate group chat away from the team because I certainly would. But my question for you, because I've heard this take before and I wish I could ask it, do you think that if Scott were to keep these starters in a little bit longer more often, this team would be in first place?
Absolutely. They've lost 10 games minimum in the last 30 days in that fashion. I've done my research and my stats. They lost back-to-back games last week to Detroit and whoever, I can't remember the other team, but they lost back-to-back games where they were up 1-0 and 2-0, and they blew it in the 8th inning and 9th inning. And it's like these pitchers Bryce Miller was one of the games. They only had thrown 77 pitches. It's like, this is getting ridiculous. And if Service is not calling the shots like you guys had mentioned, then someone else's head needs to be on a platter, seriously, because this isn't fair to Scott. Then it's also not going to be fair to Dan. He's not going to get a fair shake. My opinion is if Dan comes in and says, look, these pitchers are our horses. We lead all of MLB and ERA. We're going to stick with our horses and try to get through this rough stretch. They can still win the AL West if they play the same game and bring in Voth and Stanek and all of our bullpen guys that are trash. I mean, sorry, but they are. And overworked too. What Bump said, they are definitely overworked. But if we keep doing the same thing over and over again, nothing's going to change.
All right. Thank you for the call. Oh gosh, I'm sorry to cut you off. Thank you for the call, Bradley. It was a really interesting point. I'd be curious to hear some of Bradley's stats. I'll say this: I can absolutely see the argument for, dude, you've got one strength as a team. I know that in today's day and age with modern pitchers, they never stay in for complete games, but come on, lean into what you can do when your division is up for grabs. I will say that Logan Gilbert and Luis Castillo are both in the top 10 in innings pitched. My guess is, based on what I've heard, and Bump, I know that you maybe have heard the same thing, that the plan is, well, we want our pitchers to be able to pitch late in the season, and so there's this constant balancing act going on, and my guess is they had a little more faith in the bullpen than they maybe should have.
Yeah, at one point, we felt really good about that bullpen. At one point of the season, they were doing their thing, and that's so tough as a coach. How much do I push this player? How far do I take him in these situations? I do agree with the low pitch count. Maybe you might have left him in a bit more. We heard Service talk about chasing wins. I'm thinking, man, you chase as many wins as you can.
Truly.
We're in no position of privilege to not chase wins. Yeah, those are the things that pop up when you talk about the deficiencies of Scott's Service. Just with every coach, you can pick them out. Pete Carroll, horrible at reviewing plays. Everyone has their thing.
I think just ultimately, even though he said, look, the offense is kind of a smokescreen because it allows us to overlook some other mistakes, or maybe that was Camille who said that. The offense is still atrocious. And ultimately, you can't be like, well, we'll just have more starters throw complete games, or we'll just have more starters pitch through the 8th, because you are going to wear your guys down. And it's
the strength of your team is how far do I push the strength of my team?
And let me tell you what, some old school pitchers would be right there with them. It's a fascinating conversation.
Nolan
It's almost
Ryan would have thrown 120 of them things.
It's almost like an entirely separate conversation. I love this debate. I got to get to these other callers though, because we only got a couple more minutes. Let's go to Will on line 5. Will, are the Mariners better or worse today?
I don't think it matters. This year's done. No matter what is done on the field, I think they're too far behind. At some point, though, the issue comes down to ownership, and everyone played a part in this. But at some point, they have got to have a come to Jesus moment and find some top-tier players to come here. And if that means overpaying a little bit, that's what it is. I hope for the best. I hope for next year. But if it's another season or off season like with the wins we've had before, it doesn't matter. So for me, let's watch the ends, but go Hawks.
All right. Thanks for the call, Will. Will's already like, I'm ready for that pregame show bump.
Hey, Curtis, you know what he reminded me of?
Who's that?
The Rock when he asks a question.
It doesn't matter.
Let's wrap things up with Trevin. Trevin, you're our last caller. Are the Mariners better or worse today?
I'm with everybody else. I don't think it matters. I think I would have given, given Scott the run out to the end, give him the respect. He's put in 9 years. This decision definitely wasn't made over the last 3 or 4 days. Bump knows it. I don't think it's been 2 weeks. I think this was a contingency they had in place to start the year with Dan, and just give Dan that respect or Scott that respect. And, if they go on a run here, they make the playoffs. I don't see why they're not a favorite to go to the World Series with that pitching staff. And so was that run because of Dan? I don't think so. So, I have inside information from bat boys that have been with that organization that Jerry used to go in after games and just rip Scott up and down about lineup construction. I think he's the one pulling the strings ultimately, even with the lineup construction. So,
Trevin, you can't be sharing your sources now, man. you got
These bad boys aren't making enough money to be ratted out like that.
You got to protect your sources, Trevin. Oh, we lost him.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call, Trevin. It's so much from all these callers. I'm right up against the clock. We're going to get back to this a little bit later. And we've also got What I Need to Know coming up at 45 after as kind of a final segment where you guys can inject more opinion, more takes in there. That's on the Mac Jacks text line, 866-979-3776. Great callers today. Thank you to everyone for calling in. I know it felt rushed in the end because we were trying to get to everyone. You guys were so great. All right, we are taking a look around the NFL next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Shannon, why Dan Wilson?
Dan Wilson, there is absolute familiarity with both ways. He knows the organization inside out. They know him inside out. But in the organization, they're going to listen to him because who he is to this history. Dan Wilson is Dan Wilson, Mariner, and Seattle, and established. He is coming in with who he is, with what he knows, and I think that he will have the opportunity to perhaps do some things that maybe Scott Service wasn't able to.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
I caught up with my friend Mark Clymer, GM of Wayscar Ford Isuzu in Auburn, and he has some exciting news to share. Wayscar Ford is overstocked, and they need to move 2024 models off the lot. That includes F-150s, Rangers, Mavericks, F-250s, Explorers, Escapes, Expeditions, and Lightning. So when is the best time to buy a new car? Absolutely right now. They're having a factory invoice sale, which means you're going to pay what they pay. All 2024 Fords come with a lifetime powertrain coverage and 5 days or 500-mile, 100% money-back guarantee. So you can shop with total confidence. There's no negotiating, no haggling. They're just overstocked right now and need to make room for a lot more vehicles coming in. So if you've been putting it off and you're looking to get a new Ford, for a limited time only, they're having a factory invoice sale. Again, you pay what they pay. Take the hassle out of car shopping at Wayscar Ford Isuzu in Auburn, wayscarford.com.
Summer is here, and now's the time to break through those weight loss frustrations. Hey, it's Dr. Coogan with Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, and we have a proven system that can help you lose weight and get healthy. No drugs, no side effects, no calorie counting, no exercise. Just teaching you the simple steps to become a fat-burning machine and keep it off long term. Remove the stress of trying to do this on your own and picture being down 20 to 30 pounds in just 60 days with our help. At Eastside Weight Loss Clinic, we know the secret for fast and lasting weight loss using real healthy foods and lifestyle changes. Schedule your free consultation online at eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
At least for me, no matter how good a weight loss plan is, no matter how good the food tastes, I need a level of accountability. I need somebody watching and monitoring me to make sure I'm actually sticking with it.
Our program has successfully helped thousands of people lose up to 10 to 20% of their body weight in 60 days. You can start our program in person in Kirkland or virtually from anywhere you live. Schedule your free phone consultation today by calling 425-588-0080 or eastsideweightlossclinic.com.
Dr. Ryan Coogan, D.C. Results may vary.
After years of wear and tear, Joe had osteoarthritis in his wrists and shoulders.
I'm pretty much
much worked out my whole life. I actually decided I'm going to train for a half Ironman triathlon.
The pain was interfering with every part of his life.
Basically, can't sleep, causing those kind of problems, very limited movement.
Joe had surgery, but it wasn't the fix he was looking for.
The doctor told me, he's like, hey, this is just going to be a partial fix. You're going to eventually need joint replacement.
That's when he decided to see Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine for stem cell therapy.
And they're just getting better. I can basically do full motion. I don't have really any pain.
What kinds of things are you able to do now that you weren't before?
I like to golf, and it definitely has made my golf game not as painful. And sleeping. I'm sleeping better because I don't have that aching at night going on and having to roll over.
So, are you recommending this to others?
Oh, everybody I talk to. Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Before you choose surgery, consider stem cell therapy with Dr. Mark Wagner, MD, at Seattle Sports and Regenerative Medicine. Schedule your consultation at drmarkwagnermd.com.
Having quality care matters. So, let's talk about it. Nobody likes not feeling their best, but it's comforting to know top local doctors are nearby when you need one. Optum Care Washington is here with exceptional primary and specialty care, from OBGYN and family medicine to urology and gastroenterology. We also accept most Medicare Advantage plans. Plus, with over 45 Puget Sound locations, Optum offers peace of mind close to school, work, and home. Discover all the ways Optum is here for you at yourhealthwa.com.
We are Seattle Sports, the home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports.
Watch your favorite show live at seattlesports.com.
Roof now, pay later. Hi, I'm Sam Thomason, owner of State Roofing. Take advantage of our 0 down, 0 payments, and 0 interest for up to a year. We've partnered with leading lenders to make the replacement or repair of your roof affordable. Flexible financing options are available to take the worry out of an unexpected expense. Call us today at 866-ROOF-ROOF to schedule a free no-obligation estimate or visit us at stateroofing.com. That's stateroofing.com.
State Roofing, the best roof you'll ever need.
Hey, Brock Ewart here, along with IRG Physical and Hand Therapy President and CEO Shannon O'Kelly. The weather is warming. The sports are moving outdoors, Shannon. Maybe time to take care of that lawn and pull the old lawnmower out. Is it a time where you get a little busier as the weather warms?
Oh, absolutely, Brock. What we know, particularly in the Puget Sound, we have these cold, wet winters. The weather changes, the sun comes out, and everybody wants to rush outside and do things. And I'm telling you, that's great, but you got to take time, listen to your body. You got to prepare your body for those activities. You don't want to go too fast, too soon. So warm up, stretch, make sure you have flexibility, a little bit of conditioning, because if you're conditioned and ready and prepared, those activities outside are going to be so much funner, if that makes sense. You're an athlete yourself, Brock. You know how important warming up is.
No, I like funner. I think they would tell you more fun, but I kind of like funner, and that's exactly what IRG is. For more info or to book your appointment today, simply go to irgpt.com. Remember, that's irgpt.com.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Fall Classic Collector Car, Truck, and Boat Auction. Saturday, August 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Events Center. Gates open at 9 a.m. Auction starts at 10 a.m. Up to 200 collector, vintage, and classic vehicles. Many going to the highest lucky bidder with absolutely no reserve. Get lucky, get local, and get in line. Visit LuckyOldCar.com. That's LuckyOldCar.com or call 206-467-6531 for bidding and consignment details.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
You guys might have seen Stephen A. Smith going off on Russell Wilson, but if you've missed it, don't worry. We got you covered here in NFL Headlines. This was Stephen A. Smith complaining that Russell Wilson maybe wasn't being quite as competitive as you would like for the preseason.
Russell Wilson, you're beginning to piss me off. Somebody got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Listen, before we even get into the question, Molly, you stunk last year. You were paid $37.8 million to go away. The Denver Broncos is willing to eat nearly $38 million to get rid of you. And you sitting there fighting for a starting job with Justin Fields. You ain't fighting for no starting job with Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or somebody. It's Justin Fields you're starting for a job with. And he's sitting there with some smile on his face, talking about, everybody in this needs to relax. You ain't Aaron Rodgers. You don't get to say that. You better show up. You wearing the black and gold now. You a Steeler. I said it last year, I'm going to say it again. The only damn thing good that you brought to Denver was Sierra. That was it. They just stop it. All of this smiling and going over and getting along and all of this other stuff. I want to hear that stuff from him. Too cool for school. You fight for your career. Act like it, Russell Wilson.
The only good thing you brought to Denver is Sierra.
Dang.
It's a good joke.
It is a good joke. Here's the thing. Like, I agree with some of what Stephen A. Smith is saying. I'm also like, Russell has to be himself. And that's the way Russell has been is pretty consistent with who he's been in Seattle and in Denver. I don't know what he wants Russell how he wants him to behave or what he wants him to say. But Stephen A., just watch all his other interviews, man. If you feel like it's fake, it's right, because we've had that same feeling here for a long time. That's just who he is. Is it even fake? I don't think so. That's Russell Wilson. So I think that's just a clash in personalities. Stephen A. wants something that Russell just isn't capable of giving.
Do you think there's any truth to the idea that maybe Russell Wilson doesn't see this as, I don't know how to describe it, like a make or break moment? I feel like there's a lack of confidence with Russell Wilson right now, and that tells me that he does see it as serious.
You know what I tell my kids when they're struggling in sports? Fake it till you make it. You have to convince yourself mentally that I'm good and I'm ready to go. Even if you don't feel that way, you have to do that. And I think that's what Russell is doing. We see him on the field. He looks hesitant. He doesn't look the same, doesn't feel the same. But mentally, he has to tell himself that he's good.
Next up, Chiefs center Creed Humphrey signed a 4-year, $72 million extension on Thursday, making him the highest paid center in football. Pro Football Focus has him as the highest graded center overall, with the highest grade with run blocking, second highest grade with pass blocking, and second highest grade with pressure rate. He is so good, and every time I hear about him, I get upset the Seahawks didn't draft him.
Yeah, that one hurts. That one hurts. Good for him, though, man. Get your money, dog. But I would love to see you in the blue, in the green, but you're over there winning Super Bowls. So,
I know. I guess that's fine for you.
I mean, I guess if you want to,
if you want
go down
that,
to history,
if you're into that,
overrated.
I think it's more fun. It's more fun to be humbled.
It's all about having fun.
I think it's about having fun at the end of the day. And so, congratulations on your Super Bowl rings. I just think, fun is more important, and family's more important. Family. Is there a player, you can go outside of football if you want. I always think of lately Creed Humphrey. There's probably other players. Is there a player that your team, whether it's the Lakers, Seahawks, whatever, you go, oh, every time I see that guy. Also Nick Chubb. I do the same thing. Whenever I hear about Nick Chubb, I'm always like, Seattle could have had him.
Yeah, it's Nick Chubb. It's exactly who it is.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, my man has had a tough career.
I know.
Poor guy.
But when he's at his best.
Oh, yeah, it's fire.
And you never know if he would have had quite the same injuries here. I don't know. Maybe I'm being optimistic. The 49ers, speaking of injuries, reportedly knew that wide receiver Ricky Pearsall's shoulder issues were there when they drafted him. They just hoped it would get better. Unfortunately for them, it hasn't. That was quite the risk to take.
Yeah, but Pearsall, he was a baller, though. And I think that they had to do something like that because they're preparing for Debo and Brandon Ayuk to either want to get paid or dip out of there. So it sounded like that was a good move, especially if you look at Brandon Ayuk now. But with him being banged up, it's unfortunate, man. But he'll be all right. He'll come back because I really like this dude, man. He makes the tough catch. He is a baller when he's healthy.
So you do think it gives Brandon Ayuk some leverage or kind of nothing?
Oh, yeah, it gives him leverage for sure.
Yeah, right? Because he's like, well, what are you going to do? This guy that you got that you hoped would replace me.
Mm-hmm.
Not only is he not going to replace me, but you may not even have depth there if he has to start on the PUP list. Cardinals wide receiver Zay Jones has been suspended for the first 5 games of the season for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. No other information on that so far. Also, I'll say this about suspensions. Sometimes when you hear about one suspension, there's a couple you end up hearing about. It's almost like they dole them out in bunches. Nothing else on anyone right now. I'm just letting you guys know.
Yeah, typically it's once it gets rolling, there's going to be some names involved in that thing. You know what? I saw a stat the other day. The NFL hasn't had to suspend a player for gambling violations in like 2 seasons.
We did it.
So whatever they did, it's working.
We got to get the Jason Tatum. Once you said it, I was like, whoa.
Right?
We solved it.
You guys are really learning.
We really did. All right. This is coming up in 4-down territory, so I'm going to spin it like this. The Pro Football Hall of Fame announced they're shortening the waiting period for coaches to be on the ballot from 5 years to 1. Bump, you're going to be talking about this in 4-down territory at 1:15. So I'll say this, which I know that we won't really have time to get to then. Adam Schefter posted a picture of this story, and when he did, it was Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick sitting down interviewing, and like every single comment was talking about how, they just did this because they wanted Bill to get in. And I was reading it, getting a little defensive, going, do people not realize Pete Carroll is a Hall of Fame coach?
I mean, but it's, there's levels to this. And Belichick is at a higher level. But they most definitely had that in mind when it came to doing this. Of course. You think they didn't lay out every scenario and say, oh, well, who would get in if we were to do this?
That's true.
Yeah, BB.
All right, well, we saw the report yesterday, not NFL news. We saw the report yesterday from Adam Jude that Edgar Martinez would be named to Dan Wilson's staff. The Mariners just made that official, sending out a press release that Edgar Martinez has been named hitting coach for the remainder of the 2024 season. Just letting you guys know that that is now official. Let's jump to college football. Lots of questions about Washington State, the Huskies, and several other teams with the Athletics college football writer Chris Venini next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
He is our guy, John Morosi.
This has much more to do with the way the players have performed than Scott's acumen as a baseball manager or even Dan Wilson's potential as a baseball manager. This has everything to do with the inability of this group of hitters to make consistent, meaningful, hard contact against pitches in the strike zone. Period. That's really it. And once you've basically decided that you've seen that movie way too many times and that you just have to turn the page.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Sure, you can fill up at any gas station, but at any gas station, could you score 2 tickets to a Seahawks game? Sure can't. So head to a 76 or Conoco station and turn your next pit stop into a touchdown. When you buy 8 or more gallons with the Fuel Forward app, you can enter to win 2 Seahawks tickets. Next stop, Lumen Field. See official rules for details. Valid July 29th to December 15th. 2024. Copyright 2024 Phillips 66 Company. All rights reserved.
Play virtual golf on the best courses in the world and compete against your friends with Top Tracer. Mention KIRO in the golf shop and get 25% off 30-hour Top Tracer value cards valid through August. Enjoy Top Tracer at Jackson Park, Jefferson Park, and Inner Bay in Seattle.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Want to listen to Seattle Sports on your smart speaker?
Hey, smart speaker, play Seattle Sports.
This message is powered by the EQC Sportsbook at Emerald Queen Casino. Emerald Queen Casino, the entertainment capital of the Northwest.
Endless hours of research, seeking referrals, dozens of calls. Hiring the right attorney can be a challenging process during an already difficult time. JP Pendergast with Pendergast Law explains.
In Washington State, Tom, there are thousands of attorneys to choose from. Referrals and online research can be helpful, but discovering the right attorney requires a conversation. It can be hard to identify integrity and authenticity without that interaction.
So, what do you recommend?
We encourage anyone looking for personal injury representation to call for a free consultation with our team before making a decision simply based on referrals or online research. Accident victims need an attorney that listens, demonstrates honesty, and is genuinely understanding of their unique circumstances. The care, attention, and preparation that our firm provides throughout the case mirrors the effort involved when taking on the insurance companies.
Save time and avoid mistakes after an injury. Contact the caring and compassionate team at Pendergast Law.
If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident, call Pendergast Law. We can help.
When you buy tires at Les Schwab, you're getting more than just tires. You're getting America's best tire warranty, 60-day satisfaction guarantee, no hassle road hazard protection, and free maintenance for the life of your tires. Other places make you pay extra for that, but at Les Schwab, it's included with every set of tires because more warranty means less worry, and nobody stands by their tires like Les Schwab. Get more from less. Book your appointment at leschwab.com. Terms and conditions apply. See leschwab.com for details.
Home ownership. At Progressive, we know it's part of the American dream. It's winds blowing across a fruited plain, and also your new fire pit, which subsequently sets your gazebo ablaze. It's hard-hitting football, and an even harder-hitting price estimate from your general contractor. That's a star-spangled bummer. It's also around-the-clock protection when you bundle your home and auto with Progressive, which can help keep the American dream of home ownership alive and kicking. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states.
We all know what UV rays can do to our skin. but they can also do damage to your car. Keep that from happening with 303 Protectant. 303 Protectant keeps the sun's harmful rays from causing fading and cracking in rubber, plastic, or vinyl surfaces. From the dashboard to the tires, 303 Protectant keeps your car looking new longer. Get 303 Protectant today at AutoZone. Visit 303radio.com for more information.
A Gain Scent Bead story. Jim was at the laundromat when he heard his ear said Maraca, senor, but his nose said, hey, freshest scent ever. Following his nose, Jim found a man pouring a bottle of Gain Scent Beads into the washer. The scent, the freshness. Jim blurted, sir, your scent Maraca smell amazing. Actually, Jim, most noses call them Gain Scent Beads. Try Gain Scent Beads, way fresher than detergent alone.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. J.D. Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number Limited Edition Smart Bed. Limited time. For J.D. Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
Let's go! This is Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app.
KIRO AM Seattle. KIRO FM HD2 Tacoma. Home of the Seahawks, Mariners, and everything Seattle sports. Seattle Sports Snapshot.
For a second consecutive day, the Seahawks have made a trade. Seattle sent former second-round pick Darrell Taylor to Chicago in exchange for a 2025 sixth-round pick. Mariners president of baseball operations Jerry DiPoto told reporters yesterday that Dan Wilson, who was hired to replace the recently fired Scott Service, will be the permanent manager going forward, not the interim manager.
Snapshot, brought to you by Miller Lite. When it's game time, it's Miller time. From the Quantum Fiber Studio,
this is Bump and Stacy
on Seattle Sports.
Streaming through the Seattle Sports app and at seattlesports.com.
Now, here are your hosts, Michael Bumpus and Stacy Ross.
Here we go now. Joining us right now on the Emerald Queen Casino Sportsbook Hotline, let's talk some college football with Chris Venini, a senior writer at The Athletic. Chris, how's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
We're so excited. We are going to talk about some of the bigger teams. I'm actually going to start with kind of a broad picture. The Athletic and you ranked all FBS teams 1 through 134. Chris, I have a genuine question. When you get to 100, how do you even separate, like, what makes 124 and 125? I mean, how was that part of ranking?
I take it as seriously as the top 25. I enjoy every level of football. And look, the preseason one, they're just educated guesses. You know, it's just kind of random.
Right.
It's really as the season goes on, we start to get wins and losses and whatever. And yeah, there may not be much difference between 110 and 120. But I always got to keep in mind who played who lost to who, and it ends up just being kind of a fun puzzle I put through all the time.
Hey, who do you think, other than like the big dogs, the big names, what school, a smaller school, wherever you want to classify, do you think has benefited the most from NIL? I mean, we know that, Oregon has limitless money when it comes to spending. Texas A&M is up there. But like a smaller school that you feel like, all right, man, there's some money there, and the alums that have stepped up to support this.
SMU. I know technically they're not Group of Five anymore, but they were putting in NIL money at a Power 5 level to the point where everybody I talked to in the American Conference was like, yeah, we can't compete with what SMU is doing in the NIL space. And you've seen SMU's talent level go up a lot the last couple of years. Then they get the ACC invitation. It's not exactly NIL, but you've got boosters who are willing to put in, hundreds of millions of dollars to offset not getting television money in the ACC. SMU's got a lot of billionaire boosters, and they have made their mark there, and now SMU's going to be doing it at the ACC level.
All right, I wanted to look at, Chris, my alma mater, which fortunately or unfortunately this year, is Washington. Last season was the most fun I've ever had watching a Washington team. And on your list, they're 39, which I don't disagree with at all. I actually was kind of relieved to see them at 39 and not lower. That being said, on your list, you list last year's record and then last year's ranking, and they definitely stand out at 14-1 with a high ranking of 2 among the other teams around them. Did any other program have quite the drop-off to you that Washington did in terms of ranking or expectation?
No, but we've never seen the turnover that we saw at Washington because it's just a new era of college football. To not only lose your coaching staff, your Heisman and runner-up quarterback, like the starting lineup is almost completely new. Mm-hmm. And so where I put Washington was honestly just a complete guess. I have no idea how they're going to be. They could be much better. They could be much worse. It's truly harder than ever to predict certain teams in college football these days because there's just so many new faces in so many places because of the portal. I like Will Rogers. I think he's a good quarterback. I like Jed Fish as a coach. I like a couple of the pieces they brought in. It's just a completely new team. I mean, I felt the same way about in a different way, but Colorado last year, like there was no way to predict what they were going to be because we'd never seen a level of turnover like that before. So I know some Washington fans were upset about where I put them. I could very well be wrong. It's really hard to know right now.
Stacy went to University of Washington. I went to Washington State. The one thing we come together on is our hate for the Ducks as alumni. But as analysts, you got to appreciate what they do. They're now in the Big Ten Conference. Bo Nix isn't there, but you did bring in Dylan Gabriel. What are the chances that the Ducks finally kind of get over the hill of making it to a national championship and possibly winning it? I mean, you do have to play Ohio State. They don't play Penn State and Iowa. What do you think their chances are over there in the Big Ten?
I mean, pretty good. Dan Lanning is 22-1 as a coach against everybody except Washington and Georgia. You know, like he has been very, very good. I think Dylan Gabriel is a very, very good quarterback. There are some questions on defense. They're going to have to be better there. And seeing Bo Nix win the starting job for the Broncos already has me thinking, hey, maybe that's a bigger loss for them than a lot of us were considering. And that those are even bigger shoes for Dylan Gabriel to fill in. But, you know, he brought in a top 3 recruiting class, really good transfer class. He knows how to get talent there, and it's one of the most talented rosters in the country. And I think I had him at 3, but really outside of Ohio State and Georgia, I think that next group of 5 or 6 teams could really go any way.
Alabama, unsurprisingly, well into the top 10 at number 5 overall, and they're always going to be a great program. Obviously, though, looking at a year without Nick Saban, Kalen DeBoer taking over, what are some of the challenges he's going to see there? And also, Chris, do you buy into the idea of it being a knock on him having been a Pac-12 coach going to the SEC?
No, and I think when he got the job, there was a lot of concern over how is he going to recruit there. Alabama always brings in the number 1 recruiting class, and I don't think Kalen DeBoer had ever signed a top 100 player. But so far, he's been doing very well. He's been recruiting at the level that they need him to, and I think that has kind of assuaged some of the concerns big picture Alabama fans had about him. I'm high on Alabama, maybe a little bit more than most, because I trust their ability to get the most out of quarterbacks. And people forget Jalen Milroe, was not the starter going into last year. He didn't get the job until a few games into the season. Now he's the guy. Now he's feeling confident. He knows what he's doing, and he's got a really good coach to help him. There are concerns about the wide receivers. They lost some guys there in the portal. Same with the secondary, which was always one of Nick Saban's strengths. So it's not a complete team by any means, but it's still top to bottom. I think they may still be number 1 in the 24/7 team talent composite. So there's a lot to work with, and we know Kalen DeBoer gets the most out of guys, and I think that's a good combination.
As you know, and everyone else who follows college football, the playoff has been expanded, and I think a team like Notre Dame probably benefits the most, right? Because it's like now they probably can afford to lose a game if that were to happen. What do you see for Notre Dame and their chances of getting in?
I think their chances are good. The schedule is very favorable. Other than I think Texas A&M, Florida State, and USC, they should win all the rest of those games. I think pretty easily. And then 10-2 Notre Dame is probably going to get in the playoff most years. If they beat Texas A&M in week 1, they may be favored in every game the rest of the season. This is the real kind of make it or break it year for Marcus Freeman. He won 9 games like the first year, 10 the second year. But the expectations at Notre Dame are to make the playoffs. That's what Brian Kelly did. And the new playoff format is very favorable for Notre Dame to get in the field. And so I think that is the baseline expectation that everybody around Notre Dame has right now.
Obviously, it's quite an honor to be considered one of the best programs in the country, but with that comes a lot of expectation. So if you're Ryan Day or Kirby Smart or whoever else, there's obviously plenty of pressure. Is there a coach that you think is facing maybe the most pressure this year?
I guess we would say Ryan Day at Ohio State. Not that he's on the hot seat or anything, I don't think, but you got to beat Michigan this year. You have the most talented team in the country. And even if they lose to Michigan, they can still make the playoff. They can still win it all, undoubtedly. So those are the expectations. I think Billy Napier at Florida is obviously another one. He is on the hot seat. He's got a really difficult schedule. Florida has had 3 consecutive losing seasons for the first time since the 1940s. So he absolutely has to have a winning season there this year. And if not, they may be making a change.
Got to ask you about my Cougs before we get you out of here, man. Obviously, there's been a change with the Pac-12. They have a Mountain West hybrid schedule. We're looking at teams like Boise State and Fresno State, teams that we've seen before. And I wonder how we're going to look against these teams. I think they're in the right situations. What are your thoughts on the Washington State season and their potential?
Yeah, it's another one. I mean, both Washington State and Oregon State just lost a lot to the portal because of realignment and everything. And Cam Ward, really good quarterback. So losing him is tough, and it's going to maybe take a couple of games for both those teams to kind of get a real sense of what they've got and what's working. I think Jake Dickert has done a really solid job there. He's brought a lot of stability in an unstable time. Making a bowl game would be a big accomplishment, even though the schedule is probably lighter with the Mountain West games. I think that's the expectation you need to continue to have, that the postseason is going to be there, and that you do better than not against this Mountain West schedule to show that, hey, we're not on the level of a Mountain West team. We're still a level above that. And I think for both Oregon State and Washington State, that is one of the goals they need to accomplish this year as they try to continue to make their case to potentially get an invitation from another conference.
Let's talk about a few of these passers. I don't know that it's going to be an especially strong quarterback class, but it's really early. And I'm just thinking, Chris, God, we're talking so much about these rookie quarterbacks in the NFL and it being such a not just highly anticipated class, but so far kind of rewarding to watch. I have no idea what to expect for this upcoming group. I know there are going to be guys that surprise us, and in many months we're going to be talking about them. But is there anyone, maybe 1 or 2 guys you kind of have your eye on as tracking them for top 5 picks?
Yeah, I mean, it is a weaker quarterback class. It's why so many quarterbacks went so quickly last year, because people knew there wouldn't be as much here. I think Carson Beck is probably the consensus number 1 going in, but then there's questions everywhere else. Is Quinn Ewers really good enough at Texas? And a guy I'm really interested to watch is Shedeur Sanders. Mm-hmm. He puts up some really gaudy numbers. He flashes at times, but his eye level's not there a lot. He breaks down in the pocket a bit. And so NFL people seem to be very mixed on him. And in a weak quarterback class, if he has a big year, he could go top 5 or higher than maybe some people expect. So I think Colorado will be an improved team this year, and that'll start with him. And if he can make those kind of subtle improvements to his game, then we could be looking at him as a high first-round pick.
Being a head coach in college football these days is a bit different. You're dealing with agents and NILs and just money's being thrown around. So we're seeing or hearing about a lot of coaches maybe taking the trip to the NFL. They're not having to deal with all of that and letting GMs or whatnot. Are there any coaches that you feel like if they were to put together a good year might make the jump or are already on the NFL's radar?
Jim Harbaugh was the guy for a while, but the track record of hiring college coaches to the NFL is not a very good one recently. Chip Kelly didn't really work out. Matt Rule didn't work out. Jim Harbaugh's a little bit different because he'd already been to a Super Bowl. Lincoln Riley is the name that's out there a lot. Ryan Day, too, because he also coached in the NFL. So I think those are guys I would look at. But I think the trend we've seen with NFL teams is to not go in that direction as much anymore. And it's hard to predict what jobs open and whatnot. But I think when you look at guys, you got to look at guys who have been in the pros before. Jeff Astley, the head coach of Boston College, he had been an NFL assistant coach. That's why he went back to the NFL. I think you might have more of those type of guys, the guys who quit their job to take maybe a lesser job in the NFL because NIL, the portal, everything about being a college football coach right now, other than the pay, is not a lot of fun. And so it's hard to predict kind of what those guys are. But if maybe there's a guy who, he might be fired in a year or two, maybe he gets out early.
A bit related to what we talked about earlier, but to a lesser extent, obviously, we've always seen coordinators kind of jump from college to the pros or vice versa. We're watching this year with the Seahawks, Ryan Grubb make that jump. What did you really love about his offense last year, and what, in your opinion, might be the most difficult part about transitioning from a collegiate OC to the pros?
The talent level. Everybody in the NFL is really good. In college, a lot of what you're game planning for is the other team's weakness and just hitting that over and over again. And Michael Penix was really good at that. In the NFL, the margins are so small, and it really comes down. You're not going to out-scheme anybody in the NFL. It's about developing guys and putting them in a spot where they can win in those margins. And I think that's ultimately what Ryan Grubb will have to do. He's done a really good job in college football the last couple of years, but coaching in the NFL is a different animal for a lot of reasons.
He is Chris Venini. Make sure you're reading his work at The Athletic all season long. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Let's get to 4 Down territory.
This is 4 Down territory, going inside the game with former Seahawks and Coug wide receiver Michael Bumpus.
First down bump. Some analysts have made a big deal about Aaron Rodgers not playing in the preseason. You made it clear it doesn't bother you, but there are only a select few quarterbacks who don't need the preseason. Who are they?
Yeah, some guys don't need it. Aaron Rodgers is one of those guys. I'm watching ESPN, and some guys are making a big deal. Was Tim, what's his name? Tim Tannenbaum? Is that his name?
Mike Tannenbaum.
Mike Tannenbaum. Yeah, and he's like, no, you got to see Aaron Rodgers take a hit. I go, for what? My man played 4 snaps last year, got hit, didn't get hit, just went to a drop back and popped his Achilles. I'm good on that.
Yeah.
But there are only a few guys who don't need the preseason, and these guys are pros. Patrick Mahomes, 96 games, future Hall of Famer. Lamar Jackson, 86 games, 2 MVPs. Josh Allen's 94 games accounted for the most touchdowns in the NFL last year. Of course, Aaron Rodgers, 231 games, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl champion. Matthew Stafford, 206 games, Super Bowl champ. Dak Prescott, 114 games, had the most explosive offense in the game last year. This is hold on. Jared Goff, 117 games.
Yeah, you put some respect on Jared's
He just
name.
knows how to win.
Let's include him in that list.
These two are the two where I go, do they actually need the preseason? They just might, but they might not. One is Jalen Hurts, 62 games, but maybe he should play because last year was not very good for my man, and he has a lot to prove. He was an MVP candidate. He did not finesse the league, but he got about $250 million. But I'm looking at his game last year, and I go, I don't know, he might need it. And then Brock Purdy. I mean, he's only played in 25 games, but he's the best point guard in the game right now. He's the best point guard. He distributes the ball properly. He's good to go. If you ain't those names, lace them up, son, because you got to play some ball. If you're on this list, let me know if I missed somebody out there. Text lines, I'll probably disagree with you, but let me know anyway. Those are my guys. Those guys don't need the preseason. We're talking about preseason. These guys have played in over 1,000 games collectively. They are good to go. They are proven in this league. Everyone else, strap them up. Get ready to go.
425, what about Joe Burrow?
Yes, Joe Burrow. He does not need preseason.
Yeah. But I can understand the argument for younger players in general, particularly coming off of injury, to be able to get out there. I mean, it's the same reason the Browns want Deshaun Watson out there. He's not proven nearly as much as Joe Burrow, but it's because he's missed so much time.
Yeah, lots of time.
Someone said, how about Matt Ryan? Maybe Kirk Cousins.
Matt Ryan, is he still playing? He retired.
No.
Kirk Cousins? Nah, Kirk's good. Everybody else?
Maybe they meant Kirk Cousins. Second down. Sounds like starters may get some playing time on Saturday. What are you looking forward to seeing?
Now, it's hard to really, come on, this is preseason. They're going to be vanilla, but there's some things that you're going to be able to see. Someone says, what about Tua? Tua needs to play. Tua, go out there and play, okay? I want to see Grubb, his tendencies, right? Last year, now this is a different offense. Last year, the Hawks had 11 pass plays per game on first down. So I just looked at first down and say, what are his preseason tendencies? Because I'm sure they're going to change during the regular season. But against the Rams, he had 12 pass plays on first downs, 19 run plays. Against Tennessee, he had 8 pass plays on first downs, 9 run plays. Overall, this season, 20 pass plays, 28 runs on first down. Is this going to be who he is? I know a lot of coordinators love to establish the run on first down, get 3 or 4 yards. It sets up everything else. I just want to see. So now I'm just a simple stat. I'm going to go out there. I'm going to look at the first down, what formations he gets in, what the play call is going to look like. I also want to see the condensed formations and how he's going to use that. I think a lot of people are going to those condensed formations, at least to start the motion guys out. I just want to see what the first down playbook looks like. So Ryan Grubb, show me a little something. I know you're not going to show me much, but just give me something. Let me see that first down.
Third down. What new NFL Hall of Fame rule could make for GOAT activity?
GOAT activity's on the way. This man already has some GOATness in him.
Okay.
He might be the greatest coach of all time. We're talking about
Greatest Bill Belichick?
Bill Belichick.
Okay.
All right, so there's some more GOATness that can happen with this dude, Stacy. So the NFL just made a rule, Hall of Fame made a rule that you only have to be out the game 1 year and you're eligible for the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
So for coaches. If he's out 1 year and then gets inducted into the Hall of Fame and then goes and coaches, goodness gracious, man, I'd walk around with that jacket on the sideline like, look, listen to me. I'm the only one to do this, guys. Pay attention to what I'm doing because this is ridiculous. I mean, what else is there for Belichick to do? I think he wants to get back in the game. I think he's more than capable of coaching and doing it at a high level. But if he were to get inducted into the Hall of Fame and then come back and coach, that'd be some crazy stuff, man. And if I'm Bill Belichick, I'm doing it just for my ego. I'm doing it. Like, I'm gonna wait a year because y'all better get me in. I'm first ballot. Get me in, and then I'm gonna go ahead and coach whoever needs a team out there. And then I'm gonna pass up Don Shula for most wins of all time. I mean, then he's done everything. So I'm looking at that situation, and that would be a hoot. That would be fun to see.
I love the idea of Bill Belichick just yelling at people, I'm a Hall of Famer. Like that as his only response to anything. I mean, it's the same thing that, like, I'm sure Yankees fans just go 27 rings. Like, anytime you try to make fun of anyone and that has, like, an amazing accomplishment and you can throw that back, I bet you do it with your Lakers.
All the time.
Just, you know what I mean?
All
you
the
just
time.
throw out, 8 championships?
8?
How many with the Lakers? 24? 18?
The Lakers have 17.
17.
Celtics have 18.
I don't know. I don't know where my brain went.
That's about how many they've won in L.A. They won a bunch in Minneapolis.
That's not true.
My brain just automatically
We won 10 in
went
LA,
there.
thank you. 10 in LA. Okay.
That's more than
10's
half.
close to 8.
Fourth down. Sorry to my diehard Lakers fan out there on the text line, singular. Fourth down. What does DT being traded to the Bears tell you?
Man, he was only going to have a cap hit of $3.1 million. They only gave him a $20,000 signing bonus. So what that tells me is that something wasn't clicking. I'm watching the film, and he was having himself a nice preseason, man. I thought about the edge rushing group, and I go, this group is going to be on point. So I think there might have been something else going on with DT. When you're only getting, a 6th-round pick for this guy, he was, as you pointed out, almost a first-round pick. There has to be a disconnect, whether that's the little things he's being asked to do on the football field or maybe some personality stuff going on in the locker room. Either way, I thought DT was having himself a nice season. So what that tells me also is that Draymond Jones is going to be used more on the outside. He hasn't been healthy, but we'll see what happens there. It means Boye Mafe's had a good preseason. They like him. It means that Derek Hall, who I think everyone thinks is taking a step up, and then Uchenna Nwosu is going to be good to go. I really liked this edge rushing group with DT in the mix. Now that he's not there, it's going to look a bit different, but I think they're going to be fine and good to go. I also think that DT's going to a good situation with the Bears where he's not going to be relied upon to be the guy. He can blend right in and do his thing, man. It's been an interesting tenure over here with DT as far as his career, man. He's been banged up. Took a while for him to get on the field. He had like a leg injury to start his career. He had a good year where he had 9 sacks, I believe, or something like that. But it's been up and down. So I think the consistency was part of the deal, and maybe he wasn't picking up some little technical things when it comes to playing the position. But man, DT, man, appreciate your time here. You had a couple good years, and good luck to you over there in Chicago.
Continuing our debates about the best Seahawks player at every single position. We've already talked about running back. We've already talked about tight end. Today, we talk about the best Seahawks safety ever. That's next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Brock and Salk.
Who better to bring on than Jeff Passan, ESPN? Why do you think this happened yesterday?
It is ultimately going to be on the manager, right? Jerry DiPoto's probably not going to fire himself. We're past the trade deadline. There needs to be a shakeup of some manner, and clearly Jared DeHart went along with Scott Service here, so they're trying to do something. I guess that thing is the new voice. Different in this case may not be a bad thing.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
This is the day of the big sale at your gift shop.
Welcome in.
So this isn't just a big day for your business. It's a big day for the network keeping it all connected. That is, if it can handle the pressure.
Next in line, please.
So is it possible to get business internet you can really count on? It is. With 99.9% network reliability from Comcast Business. It's like this neat little bow.
Do you like that gift wrap?
Really ties it all together. Reliable internet for your business. It's not just possible, it's happening. Comcast Business, powering possibilities.
Switch to Comcast Business and get started with reliable internet and advanced security for $49.99 a month for 12 months with a 2-year agreement. Plus, ask how to get up to a $500 prepaid card with a qualifying internet package. Don't wait. Call or go online to switch today. Offer ends 9/22/24. Restrictions apply. New customers only with 150 megabit per second internet. Eagle bill and auto pay required. Equipment, taxes, and fees extra. After 12 months, regular rates apply.
John here with Happy Hauler. Furniture and household items you plan to throw away? We'll take them and prioritize donating and recycling, keeping items out of the landfill. Happy Hauler is Seattle's eco-friendly junk removal. HappyHauler.com, hauling with a heart.
Friends of Waterfront Park proudly presents the 4th annual Waterfront Block Party, Friday, August 30th from noon to 8:30, with events at Pier 62, Olympic Sculpture Park, and Occidental Square. It's free and welcome to all ages. WaterfrontParkSeattle.org.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
I'm Bradley Johnson with 1-800-DUI-AWAY, and I want to talk to you about following the law. All of them. Speeding, failure to signal, gabbing on the phone, sleeping while your car drives you.
Your destination.
There are many reasons an officer has the right to pull you over and then investigate for DUI. And that creates stress and anxiety, and no one needs more of that. We hear all the time that folks feel a DUI investigation shouldn't develop unless they displayed signs of impaired driving, like kissing the curb or crossing the line. But the police are doing their job, and they save lives. Avoid being pulled over by following all the laws, even when your car is the one that's loaded. Call 1-800-DUI-AWAY or go to 1-800-DUI-AWAY.com to schedule your free consultation for any criminal offense. A minor traffic infraction can lead to a serious DUI. So don't give the police a reason to pull you over, and never drink and drive.
1-800-DUI-AWAY!
Did you know about the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program? You can get an $80 benefit card to spend at local farmers markets. Use it to buy seasonal fruits, vegetables, and honey. Just bring your new SFMNP card with you when you shop. When you make a purchase, the grower will scan your card. Then you'll confirm the purchase with your PIN.
You're all set. Enjoy those tomatoes.
Thank you, I will. Find participating markets, local contacts, and more info at seniorfmnp.com. That's seniorfmnp.com.
Listen throughout the week to the Mariners Player Spotlight.
Ever since I got here, I want to win a World Series in Seattle, and this city's starving for another winning team.
Presented by Muckleshoot Casino Resort.
You're free now. Free to fill your feed with impossibly chonky chonkers who chonk harder than you ever thought possible.
Cats, corgis, babies, baby penguins, baby pandas, chunky baby pandas.
Free to make your smart devices do silly things. Free to open a world of remote work and a portal into Gametopia.
Who's the boss now?
Free to be everything you imagine, and then some. That's how it feels to have quantum fiber internet. Quantum Fiber, your world unleashed. Learn more at quantumfiber.com. Limited availability, service in select locations only.
Seattle is home to Swedish CyberKnife, a non-invasive and highly precise treatment for prostate cancer. Compared with other radiation treatments, CyberKnife treatment is much shorter, typically 5 treatments. The vast majority of patients experience minimal side effects and can continue normal activities during treatment. Swedish CyberKnife patients enjoy excellent cancer control rates and minimal disruption to normal activities. Go to swedish.org/cyberknifeprostate. Treat prostate cancer with Swedish CyberKnife.
Raid wants to know, what would you do if you could confidently face every day knowing you and your loved ones are protected? Would you sing along to your favorite song at the top of your lungs? Turn off the GPS and let your heart do the guiding. Go to the drive-thru and order one of everything. Feel the buzz of confidence of knowing you are protected with 65 years of insect science in your hands. Raid. Protection for everyone.
This year, Dell Technologies Back to School event is delivering impressive tech with an inspiring purpose. Learn how Dell is helping Computer Aid, whose work is helping solar community hubs with tech and AI literacy skills to empower remote, displaced, or disconnected communities around the world. Help Dell make a difference and shop AI-ready PCs powered by Snapdragon X Series processors at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
We've been doing this series every single show heading into the start of the season. We have already covered running back, and yesterday we did tight end. So who is the best Seahawks safety in franchise history? 866-979-3776. There's your text line. Bump, who you got?
While doing my research for this, I found something out. The Michael Jackson who was just traded is not the only Michael Jackson to play for the Seahawks. From 79 to like 85, there was an inside linebacker by the name of Michael Jackson.
I didn't know that.
How crazy is that? Fun fact for you.
Unfortunately for him, not the most famous Michael Jackson.
Not the most.
So close.
You know.
Just barely edged him out.
Safeties. So first I got to talk about my favorite safety of all time for the Seattle Seahawks, and that is my man, 21, Paul Moyer, a.k.a. Paul Moy. Yay, my guy. What do you got, like 8 career interceptions or something like that? He went to a JC and then went to Arizona State, undrafted free agent, became a starter for your Seahawks. Paul Moyer, a.k.a. Paul Moyer, is my guy. So now let's talk about the matter at hand here, I almost called you safety, Stacy. Stacy the safety. You might be a good flag football player. You should.
I think I'd be a great.
You should try for the 2028 Olympics.
Yeah,
flag football.
I will.
All right, bet. I'll
I
train
think my
you.
football IQ is better than Patrick Mahomes.
Your throwing motion's similar to the current quarterback.
Exactly. Both of us are going to be like,
Facts.
we're better than Mahomes.
Like you too, huh? But man, this is I mean, it comes down to several guys, right? Yeah, Eugene Robinson, who has a bunch of interceptions for the squad, 42 to be exact. Then you have the guy who I think most people are going to go with. You got Smooth Kenny Easley. And if I were to pick anyone other than him, my favorite safety of all time, Paul Moyer, would be all over me. Okay? And then you have the guy who might have been caught up with some suspect activity with his brother, Earl Thomas. But not denying my man can play. He has some range, sideline to sideline. Earl was a special type of player. I can't sit here and pretend like I watched Eugene Robinson play the game of football. He played from 85, good year to be alive, to 1995. Kenny Easley, 81, don't know what that year was like, to 87, I caught some of 87. But not old enough to really appreciate what's going down. Kenny Easley has this little statue in Canton in the Hall of Fame. So because of that alone, right now I got to go with Kenny Easley, but Earl Thomas is going to be there too. Kenny got 32 interceptions. Earl got 28 interceptions. Eugene Robinson got 42 of them things, but the all-time leader is Dave Brown, but he was a corner. We're not talking about corners. So I got to go with the smooth Kenny Easley.
So I also went with Kenny Easley, but it was the same kind of deal where I'm like, all that I know of watching Kenny Easley is just from watching YouTube highlight videos because I wasn't alive for his career. And this is where I knew that we would run into problems making this list, is that I'd only have a limited, into the early 2000s memory of any Seahawks before I'd be like, I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you what that was like. So obviously I don't know anything about Kenny Easley except for his stats
some film.
and
I've seen
highlights.
some film.
Yeah, exactly. Film is like, which is, hi, welcome to, I'm sure that there are athletes that if you are any age, you have only ever seen them in videos or random replays. But obviously that talent's undeniable. The impact is undeniable. And importantly, I was kind of going between him and Earl. Kenny Easley played fewer seasons from age 22 to 28. Earl never got double-digit interceptions, which obviously Kenny Easley did in 1984. Earl, though, was right up next to it. So I went with Easley for the same reason, but I was surprised, Bump, how many people on the Mac and Jacks text line have gone with Cam. All love and respect to Cam, who should have been Super Bowl MVP. Should have been Super Bowl MVP. I think Earl Thomas is one of the most talented players this organization has had. This is a defense that worked because of Earl. Like, Pete Carroll's defense worked in part because of what Earl Thomas could do.
Yeah, Earl could go from LA to New York in about 20 minutes.
Yes.
That's the range my guy had. He did make it work. He allowed Richard Sherman to be aggressive on that outside because he knew, look, if I get beat, which didn't happen much with Sherm, Earl Thomas was over the top and he was going to have my back, man. Earl was like a missile out there flying around. The most feared safety of all time?
Cam
for sure. I played golf with Cam a few months ago. Dude is still... Like, you feel his presence. Like, this dude is one of the biggest, massive human beings I've ever seen. But at safety, your job is to keep things safe. How do you do that? You intercept that football when they're trying to go deep. And Earl does that. Here's the thing about Kenny Easley, though. He only played in 89 games, got 32 interceptions. Earl played in 125. He has 28. Yep. So there's a difference right there. Eugene Robinson played in a bunch of games, man. 170. He has 42. But and it's hard to compare generations, too, because Kenny Easley didn't have the opportunities to make interceptions the same way that Earl did just because of the game. The game gets more spread out every decade. You throw the ball more and more and more, at least more consistently. Dan Marino was throwing that thing in the 80s like he was playing in the 2000s. Like, it was different for him and guys like John Elway. But the more the quarterback position evolved into the guys that we have today and along the way, the more they're throwing the football deep and you had opportunities to get it. But you know what? Mama once told me, man, she said, respect your elders, okay? And that's what I'm doing with Kenny Easley because the way that Paul Moyer and Dave Wyman light up when they talk about this dude, and then I watch the film on him, and then every pregame show that we have at Lewin Field, you walk down the hall and you see Warren Moon, you see Steve Largent, you see Walter Jones, you see Kenny Easley, the Hall of Famers. I hope I didn't miss anybody. The Hall of Famers that the Seahawks had. So you got to put some respect on that man's name, man. I've heard plenty of stories about Kenny Easley helping Paul Moyer out and Moyer doing the same. So I might be biased, but the numbers make me right, too, at the same time because Kenny was a beast.
Let's see, 206. It also worked, Pete Carroll's defense, because nobody wanted to come across the middle with Cam there. And I hear and see what you're saying, 1,000%. But I'm also looking at just the coverage that you were able to use. If you were a defensive coordinator in the league in 2013, you looked at what Pete Carroll was doing and you say, oh, it's not that complicated. But could you do it?
Man.
No. You couldn't. And any Super Bowl team has benefited from other players around.
You know how you beat cover 3? You run your slots. You go 2x2 slots, and you run the seams. And you do whatever you want on the outside. You hold a vertical route as long as you can on the outside, and maybe have them breaking in or to the sideline or downhill. But then you got to work the seams. And so what Earl is doing is he's in that back pedal, and they're working seams and deep crosses, and he has to anticipate and react. I mean, you cannot do it the way that he did it without the range that he had and the instincts that he played with. It was incredible watching him. And, my bias should lead me towards him because I watched more of him live, obviously. But, man, Kenny Easley's a Hall of Famer.
I'm going Kenny Easley, number 1. I will give the nod as a kind of second up to Earl Thomas for what he was able to allow the Seahawks to do schematically. For a lot of people, I think it's about what they want in a safety, and if what you want is someone who just exemplifies the physicality of a defense, then you're looking at Cam. And I was thinking of it from just a schematic point of view or a ranginess of what I value in a safety, but for what Cam brought, I totally get why he's number one for a lot of people.
Cam was a creative player. 6'3", 225, moving the way that he did. I mean, that's not fair. That's a cheat code right there. Crazy.
And he could throw the ball. And he could be a backup quarterback.
Whatever you want. Cam got you. And he can golf too, man. He got a good game.
Here I am talking about ranginess. Cam had range.
He did have.
He had the range.
Yeah, facts.
All right. Someone's saying Jamal Adams. They're kidding.
That's not nice.
They're kidding.
You stop it. You stop.
Let's see. So, yeah, Cam, the most popular answer. I was not expecting that. I thought that this would be far and away Kenny Easley from the Mac and Jack's text line, but it's Cam.
Yeah.
Do you think that we think differently, or just collectively the fan base thinks differently about Earl Thomas because of how things ended?
I think that plays a role in some things. Definitely, yeah. Because you can't. What are you going to say bad about Cam? Absolutely nothing.
Nothing.
Like Cam, great on the field, great off the field. I mean, just if you ever met Cam, you know he's just a good dude.
He had a holdout. We don't even talk about it.
Right.
Because he came back and felt horrible. Yeah.
Yep.
Just, yeah, good dude. All right, get your questions in for What I Need to Know, 866-979-3776. Any question, text it now, 866-979-3776.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
He is our guy, John Morosi.
This has much more to do with the way the players have performed than Scott's acumen as a baseball manager or even Dan Wilson's potential as a baseball manager. This has everything to do with the inability of this group of hitters to make consistent, meaningful, hard contact against pitches in the strike zone. Period. That's really it. And once you've basically decided that you've seen that movie way too many times and that you just have to turn the page.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
You gotta love baseball season. But when it comes to your windows, you don't want any curveballs. Rick Riz here, reminding you to trust your clubhouse with locally owned Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Experience the difference with high-quality products, expert installation, and top-notch customer service. It's always a home run with Pella. Schedule a free consultation with Pella Windows and Doors of Western Washington. Just go to PellaPNW.com. That's PellaPNW.com.
Looking for fine jewelry this fall? Good news! Seattle's favorite jeweler for more than 40 years now has 2 locations in the area. Come visit us in our beautiful new store with the biggest selection at South Center Square in Tukwila. Create your own engagement ring with the widest range of diamonds and gemstones and discover unique, fine jewelry designed by our in-house team. No matter your budget, our friendly team is here to help guide you in finding that perfect piece that speaks to you. Visit ShaneCo.com to find your closest store and hours. We can't wait to see you. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys! I love this song!
I love these nachos.
I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy.
What's your name?
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
Presenting a Gain Flings love story. Dear love of my life, we were on the 12B bus this morning when I caught a whiff. A scent so fresh, so life-changing, I had to find its source. Alas, I didn't know if you were the woman in the pink freshly washed cardigan or the retired mailman next to me, but I knew one of you was my soulmate. Ah, the scent of Gain Flings. Try Gain Flings with OxyBoost and Febreze.
eBay Motors is here for the ride. 120,000 miles of night drives, daily commutes, and who knows how many.
Are we there yet?
Through countless fixes, elbow grease, and a new radiator, you kept your ride alive. With eBay Motors, you have over 122 million parts to keep it running. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, they'll be the perfect fit every time. Plus, at these prices, well, we're burning rubber, not cash. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Bonneville International radio station contests are open to participants 18 years of age or older that are residents of Washington State unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contests are not eligible to win unless the station otherwise specifies at its own discretion. Persons who have won in the last 60 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available on seattlesports.com or in person at the station during regular business hours.
Subscribe to the Seattle Sports YouTube page to find new and exclusive content from your favorite shows and personalities daily. Just head to YouTube, search Seattle Sports, and click subscribe.
Are you curious about who offers the best deals on top-rated Samsung, LG, and Sony TVs? The answer is surprising. It's not online, and it's not the warehouse clubs. The best deals on top-rated TVs are at Video Only. Don't believe it? Then check out the trade-in deals at Video Only. How about $500 for your old TV? Try doing that online. Before you buy that new TV, drop into Video Only. If you don't, you'll be sorry.
Saddle up for the Ellensburg Rodeo, happening this Labor Day weekend. It's your chance to witness world-class rodeo events, from bull riding to barrel racing and everything in between. Seattle Sports has your chance to win 4 tickets to the Ellensburg Rodeo, Sunday, September 1st, Tough Enough to Wear Pink performance. Tickets include same-day fair admission. So come early and enjoy both the Ellensburg Rodeo and Kittitas County Fair. Get to seattlesports.com/win to enter. That's seattlesports.com/win. Contest ends August 25th.
Feeling lucky? Don't miss the Lucky Fall Classic Collector Car, Truck, and Boat Auction. Saturday, August 31st at Tacoma's LeMay Marymount Event Center. Gates open at 9 a.m. Auction starts at 10 a.m. Up to 200 collector, vintage, and classic vehicles. Many going to the highest lucky bidder with absolutely no reserve. Get lucky, get local, and get in line. Visit LuckyOldCar.com. That's LuckyOldCar.com or call 206-467-6531 for bidding and consignment details.
Having quality care matters to everybody. So, let's talk about it. Optum Care Washington is healthier primary and specialty care. Your doctor can connect you to the care you need with top clinicians in more than 55 specialties, including podiatry, orthopedics, sports medicine, and spine specialists. And if you ever need ENT, breast, or colorectal surgery, you can count on board-certified surgeons. For top local doctors focused on you, connect with Optum at yourhealthwa.com.
This hour is brought to you by Mazda of Everett.
From the Quantum Fiber Studio.
This is Bumpin' Stacy.
Weekdays 10 to 2.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Get your questions in for What I Need to Know. 866-979-3776. Again, 866-979-3776. What I Need to Know. Says one listener, when I was 5, my favorite Mariner player was John Olerud. When I was 6, it was Dan Wilson. Who was your favorite player as a kid and why?
Ooh, when I was coming up, man, you know, Raul Mondesi was my guy, man. Played some left field, had the chain.
Had a hose on the outfield.
Yeah, had a hose. And his swing was so dang violent. I loved it. He just got into some trouble recently, though, man. I forgot what it is. He's locked up now.
I hate it when your favorite things as a kid, like those favorite guys, get canceled.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, stop messing up my childhood by being a bad person.
He's locked up, man. Raul was my guy. And then it was Gary Sheffield, too, man. I loved his little back, whatever the heck he used to do, man, before he swung.
Bum's doing it now in case you're watching the video.
I can see it.
Need a demonstration.
On the stream. That's what it looked like.
He's got it down perfectly.
Curtis, did you have? Probably Griffey, I'm guessing.
Yeah. I was left-handed, or still am left-handed. But not
yeah, whoa, okay.
But yeah, it was definitely Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I would say outside of Griffey, I got into sports a little bit later. So I think Peyton Manning is probably when I really started to like football. Yeah, which I still was little, but.
Raul is serving 7 years under house arrest.
Okay, so he's out.
Okay, he's out, but he's in for embezzling millions of dollars.
Hey, you know.
Honestly, it could have been worse.
That's white-collar crime.
Yeah, it could have been worse.
It's nonviolent.
What I need to know. If you had a pet parrot, what would you teach it to say?
Can't say it on air. Can't say it on air. I'm that guy, yes. I will teach him all the best words in our beautiful language.
Let's see. What I need to know. What's a good adult present for my recent college graduate daughter? Congratulations.
Money.
Money.
She's gonna want money.
Yeah, money for sure.
Cash, preferably.
A laptop if she doesn't have one.
Nah, she graduated. She ain't a freshman. She graduated.
Well, yeah, I mean,
That's a freshman gift.
you need a laptop for a job search.
Nah.
I don't know. Okay, money.
cash.
Yeah, money. I would suggest a laptop. That's just me.
You could buy a laptop with the cash.
Right?
Yeah.
And have some left over.
Let's see what I need to know. My girlfriend planned a big outdoor summer party for tomorrow. Now it's going to be cold and rainy. Should she cancel it or try to just move it inside?
Move it inside. I mean, because you only got a few more weekends left. I'd say just move it inside and make it into like an evening type thing.
Yeah, and I think, too, you run the risk of people not being able to meet up next weekend when the weather's going to be better.
Right.
And people have already kind of cleared their calendars for this weekend for your party.
That's
so
dad talk.
you might as well just go through with it.
Very responsible human.
That's
right,
right.
Curtis.
Money's not a gift, says the 847.
Oh, it's a gift.
I disagree. I would love to receive money.
I love gifts of money.
One of my favorite gifts I've ever received when I was little was a pair of gloves. And it was like a white elephant party, and I remember being like, "Oh, my sister got something really cool." And then in each of the gloves was a dollar bill rolled up, and I was like, "This is the coolest gift." Money. Let's see. Someone said our recent UW grad gets free room and board. You're welcome.
I like that. I like it.
Let's see. Gifts should be what you give to someone that they wouldn't give to themselves.
I can't give myself $1,000 right now. Like that's not how it works.
My suggestion was laptop, but again,
You can give yourself a laptop.
yeah.
What are we talking here?
866-979-3776. What I need to know. What's the weirdest gift you've ever received, speaking of gifts?
A care package from my cousin who played football at Oregon State. There's a bunch of weird stuff in that care package. I'll tell you
Maybe
that.
was it a joke?
Nah, you're going to use them.
What I need to know. What tastes better, round or square pizza? Round. That's science. Square pizza.
Something about square pizza just hits different.
Square's got
because
the
you know why?
the cheese on the crust.
Square pizza hits different because it reminds me of high school, elementary school lunches. And that was the best meal, was when it was pizza day or chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's round.
It's round.
But square is such a nice little switch up.
If I say a slice of pizza and you're like, ooh, pizza, do you imagine a square slice or...
You know the answer to that.
Exactly. A triangle slice is what you imagine, a
But if I'm
regular
offered
slice.
a square pizza, like Detroit style, I'm not saying no to that.
No, I'm not, but I think that they do taste different, and I don't know how to explain it. What I need to know, will there be Hawks opponent trivia on Fridays this season, like Niners, and will Stacey take it seriously and not mess over Bump? Come on,
I mean,
Stacey, help the
we can only assure half of that question.
I'm offended.
The second part of that question.
Everyone
I
makes
don't know.
mistakes,
but
Curtis,
we're definitely
you know?
going to do
I'm
trivia on
human.
Friday.
It's all good.
I'm human. Maybe Bump should have answered questions harder. I don't know.
Bonus round. Animals with sharp teeth.
We did that last week.
We did that
She
like
goes,
three
oh, I got
times
it, I got
last
it, guys,
year.
I got it. First
Remember
time.
when I did bonus round and all the questions were like Friends trivia?
That was like the first
Oh,
one.
yeah,
I go,
yeah.
this is straight
is,
cultural.
This is
Straight
cultural.
Not something I watch.
It was a
I don't watch
cultural answer.
Seinfeld. I didn't watch Friends.
I think the worst one was when I said one of the questions was like name all the Kardashians or like name 4 housewife cities.
Yeah, Housewife Cities.
I have both sharp teeth here.
Cool.
So there's consequence with winning this part of it. Here we go. Go back and forth, starting with Bump, naming animals with sharp teeth.
There's one.
In honor of this opposing team's mascot, a Bengal tiger, we will begin with Bump. Go back and forth naming animals with sharp teeth.
We've done that already.
No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Oh, that's awesome.
847 just said alligator. Let's see. Okay, what I need to know. Y'all have never had Moto pizza, and it shows.
Oh, yeah.
It's
I
bomb.
had Moto.
It's
Yeah.
good. Let's see. What I need to know. What's your least favorite weather phenomenon? I struggle to say phenomenon.
Hey, Side note, remember I said bunnies have sharp teeth?
Yeah.
And I didn't get that? Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
How do they eat carrots?
Gumption. Perseverance.
All right, worst weather phenomenon. Whatever happened last week when we were leaving the game.
Yeah, that was
the
nuts with
broadcast.
the lightning,
What
the
happened?
thunder.
Oh, that was crazy.
That was nuts.
I would say I'm not a fan of a tornado.
Yeah, I would not
or
like
a
to be in an
hurricane.
F5
Anything with a lot of
situation.
F2 is good, though?
Yeah, anything that could kill me.
Anything that's going to sweep up my house.
Would you rather be in a situation where you're in a tornado/twister or a tsunami?
Ooh,
Tornado/twister.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Tsunamis.
Unavoidable. There's no hiding. There's no running into
you can't
a basement.
outrun that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to say you can outrun a tornado, but
yeah,
it can miss your house.
Yeah.
Get your questions in 866-979-3776. Let's see. Now people are just saying tornado on the Mac and Jack's text line. Will Noah Lyles and Tyreek race?
No. Oh, well, Tyreek wanted to do, a 50 or 60 meter race? Because, after that, he can't hang with Lyles.
Did you see, though, that someone superimposed Tyreek's time over...
Yeah, over the 200.
It was solid.
Yeah.
They're going to have to get that done soon because I can't imagine the Dolphins want Tyreek doing that in season.
Yeah. What I need to know, would you rather run a mile or walk 5?
I'd run.
Run a mile.
Take like less than 10 minutes.
How fast do I have to go? I'd be doing that
Well,
almost
you burn more
jogging
calories
quick.
if you walk 5, though, so it's probably more beneficial to walk 5.
Do you know how long it would take me to walk 5 miles?
Like an hour.
I think it would take me probably the rest of the year.
Wow.
Get your question. No, don't get your questions.
We're done. We don't need any more.
She's loopy. She's sleepy. She's loopy. We got to get her to
Animals
bed.
are sharp teeth.
We're done. Wyman and Bob up next.
Seattle Sports, your home for Wyman and Bob.
It's become official. The Mariners have released the statement that Scott Service and Jarrett DeHart have been relieved of their duties.
As you like to say, divvy up the blame pie. Service, I think, had the smallest slice.
Something had to change. That was obvious. You can't run it back. The fan base just wouldn't accept it.
I just never thought, talking to guys like Cal and Logan, there's never been any kind of a hint whatsoever that that was the problem. So, yeah, it's very shocking to me.
On Seattle Sports and 97.3 FM HD2.
Guys, did you know your testosterone level impacts your energy, libido, sleep, weight, hair loss, mood, and even ED? And right now, Revive Men's Health Seattle will check your testosterone for free. They've helped thousands of men since 2011 feel and perform better. They're so confident they can help you, they even guarantee it. Schedule your free testosterone test, exam, and consultation today. Call 206-529-1111. That's 206-529-1111. Or visit ReviveMen'sHealth.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Donate your car today at carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K. Your car, running or not, can be picked up as soon as the next day. You'll get a maximum tax deduction and a vacation voucher.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Now accepting donations of land, homes, buildings, or any kind of real estate.
As a Washington State business, you can take advantage of Labor and Industry's no-cost safety and health consultation program. We can help you build out your accident prevention